Welcome on into the Sean O'Connell Show. No Sean O'Connell this morning. He's out gallivanting once again in a different country. So who'd they call in? Jordan Bianucci and Brice Larson. I guess we did good enough, Jordan, the last time we sat in last Thursday and Friday.
Listen, we
got the invite back.
We got a strong bullpen. They went to the pen. We're lights out. We're the Padres bullpen.
We're the Padres bullpen. Hopefully not the Dodgers bullpen. And if you're a Dodgers fan out there, good luck in the playoffs, my friends. We'll see. Maybe Shohei Ohtani makes the move over to the Dodgers bullpen this week.
That's right. Snell, maybe 8 1/3. Give us 8 1/3 there.
MLB playoffs are underway. We'll get you ready for all things MLB playoffs and talk a little Major League Baseball later on in the program. Got plenty of Utah football coming your way on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, and the home of your Utes. Of course, you can hear us over at ESPN Sports, ESPN700sports.com, the ESPN 700 app, and you can always tell your smart speaker to play ESPN 700. It is the Sean O'Connell Show, brought to you by Big Willie's. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci, James Peterson behind the glass, and we're rolling along on a Tuesday morning of the program. We're going to kick it off here by talking some Utah football, a little bit on what Kyle Whittingham had to say during his press conference in the postgame on Saturday evening, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball playoffs. Some guests that we have this morning. Gordy Chiesa will join us at 11:30. We'll talk some Utah Jazz basketball, some NBA free agency, and more as the media day was underway over with our friends at the Utah Jazz. We also have a Red and Blue segment with Jerem Jordan, brought to you by Murdoch Ford of Santaquin. That will come your way at 12 today. Talk about the BYU Cougars and get the insight from Provo and more. Bowie Lishman, a New York City marathon runner, will join us live here in studio to talk about what it's been like to what it's going to be like to run the New York City Marathon and her cool story and more. That comes your way a little bit later on in the program. Then we'll welcome in Jeff Schwartz, the former NFL player, and more to talk a bit more about the National Football League, a big-time Thursday night football matchup coming your way with the 49ers and the Rams. Your 49ers, Jordan.
The decimated 49ers.
OC's 49ers.
Yeah. It's I'll be surprised if I don't know if it's surprised. Shanahan always beats McVay, almost always, unless it's the playoffs. But man, the Niners have a lot of injuries.
Some sort of flex by you?
No, that's giving. I'd rather win the NFC Championship.
I'm not super worried. Shanahan always finds a way
I'm
to
saying
beat Sean
I'm saying
McVay.
if it were anybody but Shanahan versus McVay, I'm going the Rams will win this by a score or two. But Shanahan has his number for some reason.
Yeah.
But McVay has the best win. He beat him in the NFC Championship.
Yeah. You're right. You're exactly right.
Come at me like 2 minutes into the damn show.
Weird flex.
I got to call you out over here.
Yeah.
Weird flex,
That's
Jordan.
our Rams you're talking
Our
about.
Rams.
Our Sean McVay over on our own station, the home of the Rams in Utah.
Jordan, weird flex to say your coach is awesome except in the playoffs. That's weird. That's weird for you to say.
Exactly.
The coach or the quarterback, Jordan?
Who in the playoffs?
Yeah.
They're great in the playoffs. They just can't win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I'm not blaming Shanahan for not winning Super Bowls. You played the Chiefs twice.
As the resident Falcons fan, I'm blaming Shanahan for not winning a Super Bowl.
Was he the defensive coordinator in that second half?
Didn't need to be the defensive coordinator. Run the ball. Run the dang ball. You keep passing it. It's an incomplete pass. We got to go back to 2016 here. Relive this.
It's a good start.
Run the ball. All right. Zach Partridge of Fierce Fighting Championship will join us coming up at 1:30 this afternoon. We'll talk with him about some fighting a little bit later on in the program. Of course, cross talk with Spence Checketts back here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Let's jump into some Utah football talk this morning because Utah got a much-needed 48-14 win over West Virginia. They head into the bye week with a lot of momentum, the opportunity to get healthy, Jordan Bianucci. What did you see from the Utah Utes that, hey, look, we told you, we backed all the Utah fans off the edge. We said, and I said, great teams cover. We all know good teams win, but great teams cover, and that's what Utah did. They took care of business, and they rolled over a bad West Virginia team.
Yeah, look, it's West Virginia, but Utah looked great. They did everything I wanted to see them do. They threw the ball downfield. They ran between the tackles. They dominated in the trenches. Now, what does that mean? Not a ton, if we're being honest. Like, I feel good about it. I like what I saw. And they did what they should have done. And so it was excellent going into the bye week. You get that confidence back. That being said, West Virginia is a bad football team. They just are. But you don't get to pick who you play, and they bounced back, and they played really well.
Well, not just a bad football team, but they also have a ton of injuries. I mean, we're talking about at some positions 3, 4, 5 deep at some positions. And so it's really hard to gauge how good a football team's going to be or not. And you know what? Utah on the road, you go and take care of business. That's all you can ask of your guys. And that's exactly what they did. So it was a good bounce back, perfect timing for that football game. Now you get into the bye week. You have a full week to prepare for an Arizona State team that comes to town. And boy, is that going to be a good football game.
It is, and I just saw, and James, maybe you've seen this too, 8:15, I believe, a kickoff for that one.
8:15 kickoff. Around 4:15 is when our pregame show gets started with Porter Larson.
So under the lights, 8:15 real mountain time.
Yeah, it'll be rocking.
That as a slight to the state of Arizona because they don't go by real mountain time.
Yeah. That we're looking at you, Arizona. Jeez. And also no excuses for Utes fans. Everyone, Utes fans always want to complain when it's not a night game at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Well, you got your big potential matchup of two Big 12 title contenders under the lights at Rice-Eccles Stadium. So, be loud, be proud, which they typically are at every game. But we always talk about, nothing like a night game. Well, you got your night game. Let's go.
I will say shout out to the Utah fans that showed up to the Texas Tech game. They're the only people that showed up that day.
Yeah.
They were incredible at 10 a.m., Brice, and throughout the game. Even
at 4 a.m. they were incredible.
Yeah. It's true.
It was so loud in that. It really was.
It was great.
It was loud.
It's an awesome environment.
In that first quarter especially.
Yeah. And then, we wish the game lived up to its potential, but just couldn't quite get there. So reset time for Utah. You get the bye week. You can get healthy. You can get back into work. You give Kyle Whittingham an extra week of prep. That's where he cooks. Let Kyle cook.
We need to pull up Kyle's record off bye weeks is what we should pull up. The other thing, look, this game, more so than Texas Tech, is going to tell you who I think Utah is. Because you can, look, Texas Tech, really good football team. It's one game. If Utah struggles mightily against Arizona State, then we know maybe they're just not that great of a football team. I think they're going to play. I think they'll play well, but it's going to, it's going to tell us a lot.
Couple of things that I want to touch on from the post-game press conference after the West Virginia game. Question was asked about up-tempo offense and how Utah fares running a little bit more up-tempo on the offensive side of the football versus maybe trying to slow it down. Kyle Whittingham's response, he said, look, the best teams in college football tend to change it up. They like to do a little bit of both. And he said maybe they can do a little bit more of one than the other, like an up-tempo offense. He said don't expect them to be up-tempo. Don't expect them to always 100% go that way. But he did open up the door to say, hey, maybe that does work a little bit more. Maybe that's where we're at our best. And I thought that's where they were at their best against Texas Tech, leading into the end of the half. Mm-hmm. Now, the biggest portion of that is, I guess, the way you could disagree with that is by saying, yeah, but Texas Tech was playing a prevent defense, and they're keeping everything in front of them, and they're rallying to the football. Of course, it's going to be easy to move the football down the field. Maybe that's true. But maybe we saw something here with West Virginia that maybe that up-tempo offense is where Devin Dampier gets more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think this offense, they're still figuring themselves out a little bit. They're, brand new everybody, basically, everybody that really matters. And they're still look, if the up-tempo offense is what's moving the football, they're going to go with the up-tempo offense. So, still figuring it out. What we'll have to dig deep. We have 2 weeks to do this. What will be most advantageous against an Arizona State defense is the question.
Right. And if you watch that TCU football game there at Arizona State last week, man, that was an exciting one.
It's a great game.
Really good. And you know what? TCU has athletes. Yeah. TCU has athletes, but so does Arizona State. That Sam Levitt kid, he's pretty good at football. I'll say that much. He's
a stud. That's a good team. I didn't, coming into this year, when most of the national media, they were picking Arizona State to maybe win the Big 12 again. I was like, you lost Cam Scattaboo. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Well, they're pretty damn good. They are.
Good football team.
Yeah.
That's a good football team. Okay, so the up-tempo offense, that's a question that I have going forward. I want to see what Utah does with that. They left the door open maybe for a little discussion there. You also mentioned Devin Dampier has been very good at keeping his eyes down the field. Keeping his eyes down the field while he's scrambling out, has a lot of room, has a lot of time to work with, has a good offensive line in front of him. When he has that time to work with, he also can create his time to work with. He gets out of the pocket, keeps his eyes down the field, and that's one of his best traits is that he wants to continue to extend the play until it becomes not a good thing, which means he's throwing interceptions down the field, but you can't throw those 50-50 balls that are going to be problems. Devin Dampier's ability to keep his eyes down the field and extend the plays, one of the best things that he has, and that's what we've seen through the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, and that goes to the offensive line, too, because he is rarely under pressure. Like, he has so much time back there, and that helps. You don't feel somebody coming blindside that's just going to kill you. That offensive line is phenomenal. And then yes, he does. He is. It's obvious that he is acutely aware that no, I have my legs. I can run anytime I need to. Because of that, I'm going to stick in the pocket a little longer and really let these routes to make sure I don't have a big gain downfield there. I thought he's done a really nice job with that. I think Utah fans want to see that. Now, listen, if you can eat up some yardage, it's right in front of you, take it. But yeah, you'd rather hang in the pocket, throw the football, and don't take unnecessary hits.
That also gives them the ability to suck that defense up and get behind them a little bit. Bring those defenders up, and he can dump it off to someone behind him. More dynamic on offense. Yeah. That's something that Utah definitely loves about one Devin Dampier. Okay, final thing. So I gave you 2 positives. Here's my 1 negative takeaway from the post-game press conference. If there's anything Utah can work on, Kyle Whittingham mentioned that tackling is still a problem. And this is actually, it's probably a little bit bigger of a problem than some people think it is, Jordan. He mentioned that they had bad body position too often. That's a direct quote. They had bad body position too often. They're going to make it a point of emphasis. My question to you is, how do you make tackling a point of emphasis, not only during a bye week, but into game week, if in fall camp you said you weren't going to be as physical and you weren't going to tackle as much because you were afraid of people getting hurt, and you're already this beat up? How can you practice tackling in the middle of the season and making sure that that's a point of emphasis without getting guys injured in practice?
I have no idea, because if it's not a mindset thing. It's not like they're not getting a physical football team. So
it's bad body position.
That's what I'm saying. So I have no idea. Oh, you're asking the wrong. I didn't play football at a high level. I have no idea how you do that in the middle of a season.
This is more of a rhetorical question, because I'm not sure that there is a correct answer.
Well, I don't know if there is an answer.
And I would like to know. Look, if you're out there, you think you have the answer, you can hit me on the text in line at 877-353-0700. You can do a lot of stuff. You can get out the bags. You can have them tackle dummies. You can have them do what they've done since they were 10 years old when they started playing tackle football. But nothing comes close to trying to tackle a guy in the open field when he tries to put the shakes on you and you have bad body position to break down and stop him. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and they had 23 missed tackles against Texas Tech. I'm trying to find how many missed tackles did they have against West Virginia on Saturday.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't get that.
I'm trying to find that out, but yeah, and that's
I would assume a little less.
Yeah, but surely, yeah. If you have that, you're not going to beat Arizona State with that.
Right.
They have too many athletes,
especially with big old Jordan Tyson on the outside.
Yeah,
got to be able to bring him down. Got to be able to bring him to the ground. So those are my 3 things: 2 positives, 1 negative. One thing that we want to see from Utah going forward: you got to work on the tackling if you're going to be a contender. Contenders tackle. It's pretty simple.
Big part of the game.
Yeah. Pretty simple stuff. That's one thing that I think that we're all wondering here. And a point of emphasis for Utah and Kyle Whittingham moving forward. Maybe a question for Morgan Scalley coming up a little bit later on in the week for OC as well.
Guys, I saw 10 missed tackles for Utah was a stat I saw against West Virginia. If maybe someone has a more accurate number, but that's what I saw after the game on Saturday. The other thing, Jordan asked record after bye week for Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah.
12-7.
Oh, interesting.
Shout out to the stats and info department.
19-11 against the spread.
Okay,
Brice.
All right.
That was for you specifically. I know Jordan and I don't.
We're not degenerates, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're not putting our own money down.
There's
for
not
that sort of things,
burritos being bought in Wendover on weekends by you guys.
But I mean, if you feel good about that, 19-11 against the spread, go for it.
There you go. We'll see. Depends on what that line is. I'm sure there is a line out there, but
on Arizona State.
Yeah, I'm sure there's.
Where would you put it right now?
Where would I handicap this line?
Yeah, Utah, Arizona State.
Probably be similar to what we saw with the Texas Tech game. I'd probably go 3.5 in favor of Utah.
Yeah,
for the home.
I go 2.5, 3.5 Utah
for a home site is what I'd probably put it at. Yeah. With what I've seen from Arizona State. So it's like a coin flip game because you give 3.5 to the home team.
Yes, and Arizona State, I need to pull up their schedule. They played one tough road game at Mississippi State. Who else had they played on the road this year? That's something else. This is what we do during the show. We think out loud. We're coming. We're taking different directions.
Let me actually, as I dove a little deeper with this record after bye week, straight up, not against the spread. 5-1 in the Mountain West era, so that means only 7-5 in the Power 4 era. So a lot. He's been a lot more beatable. It's been a lot closer to 500 since Utah joined the Pac-12 and now the Big 12. And, of course, last year they started off Big 12 play. He's 0-1 in Big 12 play after the bye. So the after the bye week record for Witt for a very long time was looked at as like, yeah, you don't give him extra time to prepare and expect to win if you're the opponent. But it's really been almost sixes since they actually started playing the best of the best, right? And year in, year out in a Power 4, Power 5 conference. So I would say, especially when you're going up against a team that it's the quality of ASU, it's at home, so you feel better about that. But I would say it's not necessarily wise to think, oh, it's after the bye, extra time to prepare. Utah's invincible. They've been about. It's been about 500,
and don't forget
lately.
You're also giving Kenny Dillingham a bye week this week too.
Yeah.
So Arizona State comes off the bye week and they go on the road to Utah. This will be their third away game on the year.
Yeah, and they had Baylor and Mississippi State. So I don't know if you've been to Mississippi State. I would think this will be the toughest environment they've played. I know we don't have cowbells in Salt Lake City, but
yeah, I know
this will be. I think
those cowbells are loud.
Yeah, I think this would be. I'll say it. I think this will be the Sun Devils' toughest road test so far.
Yeah.
And they played Baylor on the road as well.
Yes, which Baylor's never struck me as a terribly difficult place to play when Robert Griffin III hasn't been there.
You mean hasn't been great.
You mean as an analyst or a player? Because I think he was on the call for that.
It's a great distinction.
Yeah, no kidding. So the win against TCU at home is a good one, 27-24. They go into their bye week. I like Kenny Dillingham as a coach. One of the best interviews I've done at Big 12 Media Days in the past. One of the most forward head coaches. Will give you what you want to hear.
Well, doesn't BS you.
Does not BS you. He does not coach speak. Today or yesterday in his press conference was talking about dudes that are on TikTok in the locker room are not guys that need to be on his football team. Guys that are sitting around on social media lack the competitive fire to win in big pressure situations. I love it. I love Kenny Dillingham, and I love the way that he runs that program. Give him all the kudos to the success that he's had. I think he connects with younger players in a way that no coaches across college football can at this moment, because he's so young and because of the way that he attacks his football program. But then he's also so straightforward. During fall camp, we heard him say, we didn't miss assignments today in practice. We didn't bust. We just didn't care. And if we don't care, then you know what? Someone's got to go 5-7. Someone's got to win 4 games. And why won't that be us? If we don't care if we win, if we don't care if we get the interception, if we just don't care, we're an average team. That's calling out your team in a different way than rather than just saying, they're like, yeah, these guys just don't care. I don't think these guys have what last year's team did.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kenny Dillingham being hired at Arizona State was the worst thing that happened to Utah and BYU. Not that they can't beat them, but every year they're going to be tough. And it didn't used to be that way with Arizona State. They would be good every once in a while. But no, that's going to be every single year they're going to be right there, I think.
I think so. The way that he's able to recruit
Oh,
not only high school kids, but the transfer portal, and relate to young college players because of his personality and his coaching style is going to keep them right there. And now more money will continue to come in as they continue to win. And, yeah, he's building that program really well.
Oh, yeah. Arizona State, it's really interesting to see where that will go because he'll be great, but the money that they'll bring in. Because they have like 60,000 students down there. So a huge alumni base.
A ton of people in the Phoenix
area.
area.
And money, it's a really interesting school that not a lot of people outside the West think about.
A lot of donors and a lot of money that can be pumped into that program if they can keep Kenny Dillingham around. And it seems like he wants to be there.
Yeah,
he's an ASU guy.
Exactly. That's why I said it's the worst thing that happened to BYU and Utah because I don't think he's going anywhere.
All right. Well, there you go. There's your early preview of that football game and one Kenny Dillingham and more. All right, Jordan, not only do we have college football to talk about this week, but today is the start of Major League Baseball playoffs. And we've got one that's underway between the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers. I believe the Tigers struck first. They're up 1-0.
Did they? I thought it was 0-0.
Well, I swear I saw
Did they
score right there.
It is 1-0
1-0?
Detroit.
All right. Interesting.
See, I'm keeping an eye on
There
it.
you
End
go.
of the first inning, 1-0 Detroit Tigers.
Look, that's it. Scooble's on the mound. You give Scooble a lead, you're in trouble if you're the Guardians. The thing about the Guardians is they had the greatest come-from-behind month of September in the history of the game. They can't score. They score like 2 or 3 runs a game, but the pitching is lights out. And then when they do score, it's like a bunt single, a broken bat flare, and a hit batsman. You know how they won you know how they got into the playoffs, like actually clinched a playoff berth? Got hit with a pitch with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth. Like that's what the Guardians have done over the last month.
Yeah, -6 run differential, to your point.
It's incredible.
To your point, Jordan. And I think, I'd like to see pre-September what it was because it was a lot worse. And, through August, maybe even through July might have been the low point for them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, looking here, they might be the only playoff team with a negative run differential. I mean, at least it's only -6. But still, how do you make the playoffs when for the whole season – you gave up more runs than you scored? It's wild.
We talk about it all the time on our show. Baseball is the weirdest sport, just bar none.
Yeah, strange things happen all the time in baseball.
Yeah,
things that you've never seen in hundreds of years of the game being played will happen on a random Tuesday in April in baseball.
Well, yeah, it's a -6 run differential, and they're the hottest team in baseball, and they won the Central. That's weird.
And we also get weird stats like this is the first time someone has scored a run while also stealing second, and then
when it's raining outside.
When it's raining and they're above the Mason-Dixon line.
In the last one, first time in Major League Baseball history.
Exactly.
I feel like basketball's getting that way too. This is the first stat line since April 2nd, 1978.
Okay. The only thing football gets is scoregami on the weekend.
Yeah. Do you want to know how many teams, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
How many teams who missed the playoffs who have a positive run differential?
Yeah.
The Mets.
Do you have a guess?
Oh, how many
Mets.
or which one?
How many? Well, if you want to tell me which ones, too, I'd give you some James Peterson bonus points.
I would say the Mets. I would go with the. That's a great question. Nobody in the Rays, maybe. The Rangers.
So far, correct on all three.
Okay. I'll go 6. How many?
Man, that is close. Bryce, do you have a guess?
No. We got
there's
baseball encyclopedia over
There's
here, so I'll let him go.
7.
Okay.
And all 3 of those you guessed were right. The other ones, your Giants.
Really?
Sorry about that. Diamondbacks, they're only +6, so just barely over. And the Royals.
Interesting.
And the Astros.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I should have said the Astros.
So those, all those teams missed the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and they have at least double the run differential that the Cleveland Guardians did. They not only made the playoffs, they won their division.
Yeah.
At the last second.
That's the difference is part of it. Some of those teams don't have a bullpen. It tells you how big pitching is, because the Guardians have been lights out, and those teams have not. That is really, that's pretty wild.
So we got the Tigers and Guardians underway right now. 1-0 your score in the the top of the second inning is where they're going there. Later on, 1 p.m. start on ABC, you'll have the Padres and the Cubs. You also have the Reds and the Dodgers at 7 p.m. tonight on ESPN, and the Red Sox and the Yankees. That's going to be a good one. 4 p.m. start on ESPN between the Red Sox and the Yankees. We'll continue to talk about Major League Baseball throughout the rest of the day today. Do want to let you know, a poll is out on our X platform today, at Larson Sports, LARSON Sports. Once you get in on it, it's also at ESPN The Fan. Sure, we'll retweet it on the ESPN 700 Twitter as well. Which professional sport has the best playoff atmospheres? That's the question we're asking you. Okay, which pro sport has the best postseason atmospheres? Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NFL, or the NBA?
Just purely atmospheres.
Purely atmospheres. That's what we're going off here.
I would go. I'd have to decide between Major League Baseball and the NHL. The NHL is phenomenal.
Right now, 39% of our poll says the NFL has the best playoff atmospheres. Here's the problem I have with that. It's the Super Bowl. A bunch of corporate suits that go to the Super Bowl that aren't fans of the teams that are playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl atmosphere is terrible.
That
Awful.
is my biggest problem with that.
Yeah.
It's a corporate atmosphere. They need to allow the actual fans of the teams to show up.
Yeah, the Super Bowl's the worst atmosphere of a championship game in sports, probably, don't you think?
All right.
It's still highly entertaining. Like, I like the Super Bowl, but
the Super Bowl is the biggest event, but the actual atmosphere in the stadium is something else.
Yeah.
Something to be talked about.
Yeah.
All right. Hit us on the poll. Hit us on the texting line, 877-353-0700. We'll take a break. Our friend Gordy Chiesa joins us coming up here in just a couple of minutes. That's all next right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Do want to remind you, the Sean O'Connell Show is now brought to you proudly by Big Willie's Sports Bar in Salt Lake. From craft food to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South Main Street. We'll take a break and be back on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back into the Sean O'Connell Show. No Sean O'Connell this morning. It is Brice Larson and Jordan Bianucci. You know us from over on the brother station, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan from 7 to 10 a.m. every single weekday morning. So if you want more of us, you can find us over there every single morning. Right now, we're going to jump into a conversation with the man, Gordy Chiesa, out on the ESPN 700 hotline. Let's welcome him on in. Glad to hear from you again, Gordy. How are things going?
Brice, it's going well. Hello, Jordan. It's going well. And today is the first day of NBA practice. And what memories about team practice the first 2 or 3 days. And the Jazz players right now just finished practice basically, and they get ready for the second session later on today.
Yeah, you mentioned memories. What's your favorite Jazz practice memory, thinking back in the days of all the guys that you were able to practice?
Well, the first thing is that 16 straight years of high intensity. And so my most memories of those days was the incredible focus that most of the players had and the attention to detail, and that how the players have told me when it was happening, and then literally decades later, is that they appreciated the little nuances that we all taught to help our team win. And it's those little things, the attention to detail, that helps teams win consistently close games. And from a player standpoint, is that they've learned how to win. And that's the most important thing is winning professional sports, but it's how you do it and how you contribute.
Gordy, back when you were coaching, I assume that the practices before the seasons, that they were a little more high intensity than they are now, perhaps. Did tempers flare ever in those training sessions like they kind of do when we see in NFL training camp?
Yes, very much. And the reason why is that the NBA hopefuls are trying to win a job. And so if you're undrafted or your contract is non-guaranteed, which many players are, they call it now just generation Exhibit 10 contracts, where to go to training camp, you have to be under a contract, either guaranteed two-way or unguaranteed, but you signed a contract. So those guys are fighting literally for their basketball life, and every drill that they're in, they're going all out, which means then tempers will get much hot during a team practice. And what you want to do is that you want to have a high level of intensity, but not cross an imaginary line. And that's what makes good teams successful, is that the players practice well and they're intense.
Gordy, I've always wondered this because we always talk about the greatest NBA head coaches. We always talk about how great Eric Spoelstra is, Greg Popovich. But what about how important the assistant coaches are in terms of actually running practice, actually running a franchise behind the scenes when the head coaches get all of the glory? How important are their assistant coaches, and what's made guys like Eric Spoelstra and Greg Popovich so good in their careers?
Well, one, the players. So without the players, you can't be successful. The assistant coaches, whether the NBA or in the NFL, they're absolutely important, and they're impactful because they're with the players on the court with their, quote, their guys, either position coaches in the NFL or in the NBA. For example, in Jazz basketball, I coached I was there for 16 years. So Jerry Sloan, Phil Johnson, and I are the three longest tenured coaches together for one franchise at the exact same time. So let's say that we know each other perfectly, to say the least, and that we had our guys that we would coach all the time or units that we would perform. And so with that, there's familiarity, there's comfortability with the players, likewise towards you. And what you want to do is be demanding without being demeaning. And it's that fine line. You can't be nice to the players because they're going to walk all over you. However, you can't be a tyrant. And it's that invisible line where they know that you mean business in a certain drill or concept, and that you want them about it. And if they keep performing not to a high level, then that's when you've got to address that for the accountability. So, for example, in the present tense, in Jazz basketball, I'm sure starting today, the Jazz last year were the worst team in the NBA on defense, number 30. It's hard to do. And the Jazz last year committed the most turnovers in the NBA offensively. That's hard to do also. And so their focus hopefully will be every time there's a turnover in practice today, you've got to literally address it on the sideline or as a group about why that's not successful. And every time there's a missed defensive assignment, you've got to address it. Otherwise, it's going to happen in a game, and then you cannot get it back. So, again, usually in winning organizations, there's practice tempo later on in the season, but in the beginning of this season, meaning what, practice today, is that there's less tempo because you correct the mistakes.
You know his voice. It's Gordy Chiesa right here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Gordy, I want to shift over to Media Day that we saw yesterday from the Utah Jazz, more specifically Walker Kessler. He said he's a little frustrated about not getting a contract extension yet from the Utah Jazz. It seems like he wants to be around. What's going on with the contract negotiations, and is there good news on the horizon for Jazz fans in terms of keeping a young piece going forward with this franchise?
The answer is yes, is that he's frustrated because the Jazz, the way the rules are, if they don't give him the extension right now, but later on, is that next summer of 2026, he becomes a restricted free agent. But it gives the Jazz, from a salary cap standpoint, it gives them much more dramatically higher flexibility for next off season. And so his salary cap hole, they call it, without being so technical, would be $14.9 million. That's the whole, but he'll make much more than that. So, for example, his age group and his talent level and his impactfulness, he's roughly should be in the range of $25 to $28 million a year. So if they sign him right now, they lose that flexibility. He gains, what, a whole bunch of money and a peace of mind. And so they're weighing what's more important for the franchise, and can Walker Kessler understand that and his representation. So I think it's going to work out because, one, they drafted him, and two, he's a good player. He's more defensive-minded than offensively. His offense got to catch up, and you have the feeling that he's going to be good. So, for example, in Jazz basketball, they're using Jakob Poeltl's contract as a benchmark. Jakob Poeltl, former huge standout, he makes this year $19.5 million, 26-27, $19.5 million, 27-28, $27.3 million, and 28-29, $29.4 million. Let's round it off. So 4 years, roughly $85-90 million. All right, and the Raptors didn't draft him. So let's add an extra few $1 million because the Jazz, he's homegrown. He's worth Kessler 4 years, roughly $100 million total. They'll get it done.
Let's talk a little bit about the rookies in training camp as well, because it's important for rookies to come in and obviously make a good impression on the franchise. What kind of work are these guys doing? How important is it for them to get off to a good start, specifically guys that are in the Jazz franchise like Bailey and others that are expecting to have a big role going forward in this franchise?
Yeah, it's critical. So the first thing for young players is that they're learning new drills and concepts. So they've got to understand that in the NBA, one, it's a faster game speed. 3, offensively, you got to maintain three-point shooting spacing. 3, you've got to understand how to execute physical defense without overly body fouling. So the coaches are saying, be physical, be physical. Oh, by the way, that's a foul. And so you're learning the technique of playing. 4, most young people say, well, Ace Bailey type. They're major young talents. They've never played without the ball. Now in the first practice session and for the NBA rookie season or second-year players, they have to adjust to play without the ball, meaning what? Cutting, screening, spacing in a game. And the 5th thing, they've got to grasp end-of-game details where how do we execute? The Jazz are down 1 with 27 seconds left. What are we trying to do versus what? Just get the ball, over-dribble into what? A one-on-one disorganized shot, and we hope it goes in. And that's what it's really eye-opening to the players. Now, again, we're assuming that everyone's playing to win, versus only what? I want to showcase my own individual skills. Remember now, every player is being judged in practice and in the preseason games, and the other 29 teams are looking at you. So maybe you don't make a NBA roster in the beginning, but you could make it definitely later on, meaning what? This season, go to G League and play. So everything does matter. The game is actually much faster, much more physical, and it's not all about you.
Hey, Gordy, moving away from the Jazz for just a moment, I wanted to ask you about a guy that's kind of in a contract stalemate right now, and that's Jonathan Kuminga with the Warriors. What are your thoughts on Kuminga? Because he has incredible upside, I think. And then does he get a deal done with the Warriors? What's his future look like?
His future right now is pause because, the Warriors, they like him. He's homegrown. This is going to be his fifth year with the franchise. He was the seventh pick of the draft back in 2021. So I make that point about it. It's just like Walker Kessler. When they draft you a certain franchise, you are part of their group. Now, the question is economically. So he's a restricted free agent. They offered him a contract. He has not signed it yet. He didn't report to Media Day, which was yesterday. He won't be in training camp. So already, automatically now, some of his teammates that supported him to get a contract now are saying, where is he? This is a team sport now. You're trying to win. And the Warriors, they have a whole bunch of guys that are winners. And so where they are right now, my instincts will tell me that he'll probably sign a qualifying offer, which means next summer of 2026, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. In the meantime, they're going to try to get him to just play for the season, and then eventually, if not trade him in the trading deadline, move him on and a signing trade next summer. So it's getting messy, and it's all part of it.
All right, Gordy, before we let you go, give us your Tuesday morning list for us here this morning.
This list today, I've been thinking about Larry Markkinen. That guy is very good. So with that said, this is the most individual 30-plus point career games for Jazz players both in Utah and also in New Orleans. The most 30-plus point games career-wise. It's really who's who in Jazz basketball as far as being a scorer. It's only a dozen right now. Number 12, Bogey. Bojan Bogdanovic had 20 30-plus point games. Number 11, the flamethrower, Jordan Clarkson, had 21. Number 9, tied for ninth place, are two players, Gordon Hayward and Leonard Truck Robinson, who did it 27 times. Number 7, tied, Darren Williams, D. Will, and Larry Markkinen had 30 times they scored 30-plus more in a game. Number 6, his nickname was C. Boozy, Carlos Boozer. He did it 32 times. Number 5 all-time in Jazz history, Dr. Duncanstein scored 30 or more points, meaning Darryl Griffith, 60 times. Number 4 all-time, nickname was Spider. Donovan Mitchell did it 86 times, 30 points or more in a Jazz game. Number 3, nickname was Pistol Pete Maravich. He did it 117 times. Number 2 all-time of the greatest 30-point scorers in Jazz history in the games, his nickname was AD, Adrian Dantley. He did it 250 times. And the number 1 player to score 30-plus points or more career-wise in a Jazz uniform was the mailman, Karl Malone. He did it 435 times, 30 points or more in a game. What about John Stockton? That guy that was pass happy. John only did it 11 times as far as 30-point games presently in Jazz basketball.
That's
Deontay
incredible.
George has had 6 30-point games so far. So when you have a guy that can score 30 points in a game like Larry Markkinen 30 times already in his career, you've got to really understand that this guy is a franchise-type player and that you've got to give him the ball in space and more importantly, embrace them, because they're so hard to do. I had the privilege to coach Karl Malone for 16 years, and I can assure you that I saw it up close and personal where a guy can get 30 points in a game for you 435 times. That's real.
That's incredible. That's an important list right there for the Utah Jazz going forward. I'll be honest, I thought Gordon Hayward would have been higher on that list, Gordy.
He has 27 right now, so he's ninth all-time with Leonard Chuck Robinson. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, remember now, the defense is trying to stop you. So think about, say, LeBron James and Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then yesteryear it would be, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, any unbelievable Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The whole emphasis every single game is that they're trying to stop you, Michael Jordan. And so when you average X amount of points per game and you have so many 30-plus point games, that just shows you how innately you are as far as talent-wise, how tough you are physically, and more importantly, how you're a clutch performer.
No doubt about it. Hey, Gordy, thank you so much for jumping on with us here this morning. We appreciate your insight.
Thanks, guys. Peace out.
That is Gordy Chiesa right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's a Brice and Bianucci edition of the Sean O'Connell Show, as myself, Brice Larson, and Jordan Bianucci sits in for one Sean O'Connell. And we appreciate Gordy Chiesa for being so willing to join us here this morning and talk a little bit about Jazz basketball. Did you think Gordon Hayward is going to be higher on that list?
Maybe a little bit. You know what? He brought up Maravich is on that list. One of my favorite stats of all time. Maravich averaged 44 points a game at LSU when he was at LSU. They didn't have a three-point line. Think about that.
Yeah.
That when he brought up, that's the stat I always think of. That's incredible.
That's incredible. That is good stuff. All right, we appreciate Gordy for jumping on with us. Coming up next, we will wrap up the first hour of this program, give you an update on what's happening in the Major League Baseball playoffs and more. That all comes your way next right here on Utah's #1 sports talk and the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Speeding through hour number 1 of the Sean O'Connell Show. No Sean this morning. It's Brice and Bianucci sitting in for him. You can find us on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan every weekday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. We'll be back on tomorrow morning talking about your Utes, likely with our friend Cole Forsman from Utah Utes on Sports Illustrated and more. So we'll get you more on the bye week tomorrow morning over there. Right now, we're talking about a couple of different things, maybe a little NFL, maybe a little Major League Baseball playoffs. Currently, the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians are underway in the top of the 4th inning. This one's kind of going fast, Jordan.
They're moving, man. I'll bring this up real quickly. You mentioned it moving. Baseball's ratings were up like 20% this year, and attendance is up too. That has to be because, partly at least, the pitch clock.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I think it is?
Go ahead.
I always bring this up. Sports betting.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think sports betting, because it's becoming legalized in more states over the last even year. I mean, I think Georgia just opened it up. There's a couple different states that just opened up sports betting and allowing people to bet on it. I think you're seeing the rise in some ratings because of sports betting, too.
Yeah, the Guardians' bullpen would be even better if their closer hadn't bet on the game.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that might be an issue.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
It's allegedly an issue. Yeah. And then even in states like ours where sports betting is not legalized, those fantasy games, like Underdog Fantasy, DraftKings, Prize Picks is sponsor of the Drive with Spence Checketts. Those kind. I don't know if ESPN Bet has a financial fantasy type game. I don't even know what you call those because it's not technically betting. Daily fantasy. Those daily fantasy games. I think that the fact that those are legalized basically across the 50 states helps out. It probably helps out a ton too. People even in Utah are like, I got some money on the line here.
Yeah.
When we watch this Rays White Sox game.
Exactly.
So something actually interesting, real quick, is there's something called Call Sheet. Have you ever seen this? Call Sheet. It's essentially okay. What it is it's contracts. You enter into a contract, and your contract is that whether or not a team will win or not.
Okay.
This is legal in all 50 states. You could do this right now in the state of Utah. And you could go and buy a contract, yes or no, will the Detroit Tigers win against the Cleveland Guardians today?
Mm-hmm.
And you get paid, like they pay 39 cents for every penny you spend or something like that. Or 39 cents for every dollar you spend.
Gotcha.
And you pick your contract, and you're entering into a contract, quote, air quotes, and they say that because it's not sports betting, that you're just, buying and selling contracts, that it's illegal in all 50 states, and they've won in the Supreme Court multiple different times. It's a pretty interesting phenomenon that's going on right now.
It feels like something you've tried, Brice.
I've not tried it
Okay.
myself. I just read into it because this was something that popped up maybe a month or two ago.
You were reading
topic.
more about it to be like, hey, is this worth buying some of these contracts? I'm sure. Yeah.
And
But it's interesting that it's how they're getting around a loophole that you're not gambling.
No, exactly.
You're entering into contracts. I don't know what that loophole legally is, but somehow they're getting around it.
This is the first installment of our gambling loophole segment, every day. That's pretty. Well, now that you've made it public, I'm sure the legislature will take care of that real quick. So thanks a lot.
I'm sure they were already aware of it long before I brought it up.
That's pretty crazy. So you go
There's
on.
an ESPN article about it.
Oh, was it?
You can go and check it out.
You just go online, and that's fascinating.
There's it's on apps like stock trading apps like Robinhood.
Really?
Yeah, you can pop it open and you can see it right there.
You've
it
never
says
done
all
it?
contracts are made by I
know. I don't believe it either, Jordan.
I know. I'm like, you've never done this?
I've never done it. No.
But your friend has.
There's a certain way you have to set up the account that's like way too complicated. And I was like, this is
way too complicated.
I tried to, but I didn't get to the finish line because it was too complicated. They wanted me to go through 50 different steps to set it up.
They wanted a copy of your social security number and
the financial verification. You're talking about. Hey, I don't need you to see where I buy my late night burritos.
That's
all
right.
I just got a new apartment. I don't need to do this.
So anyway, that I thought it was interesting, and that's something that is legal in all 50 states right now.
That is interesting.
Is it called a call sheet?
Call sheet. It's like KALSHI.
Oh, call sheet.
Yeah.
Okay. Call like ESPN 700 KALL. Just one L.
That's a sponsor, my friend. That is
there we go. Not a sponsor, could be, though.
Could be.
11:58 on this Tuesday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. Did want to let you know it is 1-0 in favor of the Detroit Tigers as they head to the bottom of the fourth right now on ESPN. So we'll keep you up to date with the Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on around the world of sports. Coming up next, we'll take a trip down south. We'll talk with Jerem Jordan in a red and blue segment brought to you by Murdoch Ford of Santa Quin. That's next. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci sitting in for Sean O'Connell right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. .12:02 on the Sean O'Connell Show, Tuesday, September the 30th. One more day, and we're into the month of October. It's crazy. The fourth quarter of 2025 coming your way tomorrow. back at it. I'm Brice Larson. That is Jordan Bianucci. We're filling in for Sean O'Connell right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. Want to remind you, you can just search up the Sean O'Connell Show wherever you get your podcasts. So you can go back and listen to any of the interviews, any of the conversations that we have. Right now it's time for a Red and Blue segment brought to you by Murdoch Ford in Santa Quin. We'll jump out to the ESPN 700 hotline and welcome in Jerem Jordan, BYU TV, and more. Jerem, appreciate you jumping on. How are things going?
Hey, things are going well. Thanks, Brice and Jordan. Good to talk to you guys.
Glad to have you aboard and along for the ride here this morning. Let's start here. BYU struggled a bit with Colorado, and it was a slow start, but they figured it out in the second half. What led to that slow start with Colorado jumping out to a 14-3 lead, and then what changes were made to allow them to win that game eventually?
Yeah, they did some things they had not done in the previous couple of games, and so kind of BYU's game plan was thrown out, and what BYU did was basically double spy Caden Salter with Isaiah Glasser and Jack Kelly, and that slowed things down. Colorado wasn't able to push it, and then the offense kind of figured it out. They had driven the ball down and not converted on a fourth down, so later they were able to catch it in a couple of times, get a field goal before the half, and it was manageable at halftime. And then Bear Bachmeier had his best game as a Cougar, 98 yards rushing, managed the game, still hasn't given it away, and BYU able to get a gritty win on a late Saturday night in front of The Rock and Randy Moss at Colorado, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, so here's an interesting conversation to have because it seemed like Caden Salter was having some success early in the run game, and then it opened up some of the other running game for the running backs in the backfield too. I went back and looked a couple different games throughout Jay Hill's tenure, and one stood out. It was Oklahoma State last year, and then maybe you could even throw in 2023 Kansas when Jalen Daniels ran for quite a bit of yards at Kansas a couple of years ago. Do you feel like Jay Hill's defenses and BYU's defense struggles with running quarterbacks, or is it more so that the game plan was different? Because it did seem with a backup quarterback against that Oklahoma State team last year that it might have been just a different game plan that they hadn't been prepared for there either. So which one are you leaning here?
I think Jay Hill responds to whatever in a pretty awesome way most of the time. And Caden Salter didn't run that well. I mean, it was 17 attempts for 49 yards. And that includes sacks, of course. But yeah, those first two drives, they were chewing up some yards and getting, 2 touchdown drives was significant. BYU had a 14-0 deficit on the road that tied the Satake era comeback, by the way, high, which was awesome. So they really buckled down. They only gave up 7 points after that. And the BYU's offense really responded well after that. So, the takeaway at the end is the sealer, BYU. It was pretty evenly played game in terms of turnovers aren't swaying this either way. But to your point, I don't know that they give Jay Hill defenses trouble because I don't know that they gave them that much trouble. They had 2 good drives, but 2 good drives don't win you a game per se. Oklahoma State was, a real anomaly last year. That's a bad Oklahoma State team that goes 0-9 in the league. They nearly beat BYU. Luckily, BYU made enough plays to win on that night. But overall, over time, what we've seen through, what is it now? 30 games of 29 games of Jay Hill-led defenses at BYU. Does pretty well against most guys that get thrown at him.
Jerem, BYU has West Virginia coming up this week, and we were talking about Utah's performance against them, and we're not sure what we can really learn because West Virginia is not a good team. They've lost a lot of key starters. What are you looking for this week? Is there anything we will be able to take away from BYU, hopefully, we assume, beating this West Virginia team this weekend?
Yeah, it's a good question because West Virginia's been banged up. They brought in 70 new guys. It's hard to gel that quickly. Rich Rod's back, which is awesome. It's going to take a minute. I think they'll get back to respectability very soon. But when you lose Nico Marchiol, who's your main guy and who you think is going to kind of lead the way, then now you have to go down the well. They've played 3 different dudes who have thrown at least 5 passes. It just gets weird. We've seen that with BYU and Utah, where you have to go deep in the well in years past, and it's just not the same. So I empathize in that regard. But, yeah, I don't know that we're going to learn a ton about BYU. I think they should handle their business at home. They're a massive favorite by 20.5 right now. It's a Friday night in the Bell Edwards Stadium. It's hard to come in and compete, let alone beat BYU in this space. The last year and a half, BYU's really cranked it up a notch. They're in a great place. They're very deep, very, very talented. This is a game you should win. So I agree with you. I don't know that we're going to learn a ton about BYU. What I'm watching, though, is can BYU avoid leaning on Bear Bachmeier in the run game a ton? I like what I saw from him in terms of what you needed to do to win that game, but I don't think it's sustainable without Sione Moa, who appears to be out for a little while, to run Bear at that rate. LJ, of course, get him the ball when you can, but there needs to be another running back that sort of shows up. Maybe that's what we learned this week is, Preston Rex or Jovessa Demuni or Enoch Nawahine. They've established themselves a little bit to where there's some confidence from Aaron Roderick and that individual to run a little more against Arizona, take a little bit off LJ's plate, of Bear's plate, and so on and so forth. It's also interesting that BYU's not spreading the ball around a ton. Last two games, I think they've thrown to 5 receivers. 3 receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. Of course, Roberts, Kingston, and Hagan are your top 3 there, and then LJ Martin, Carson Ryan. BYU knows who the playmakers are, and I think that continuity. Yesterday I talked to Chase Roberts. He told me that continuity of knowing Bear knows who is in and who's going to get the ball is good for this offense. It's
a Red and Blue segment with Jarom Jordan, brought to you by Murdoch Ford of Santaquin on the Sean O'Connell Show, right here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Jarom, as you look back at that game against Colorado, we heard Aaron Roderick earlier in the season get asked a bunch of questions. Hey, how come it seems like you're limiting the offense with a freshman quarterback, not allowing him to throw the ball? And his answer was, we haven't been playing from behind. It's hard to do it when, you haven't been playing behind, and he hasn't needed to do it, so why put him in those situations? We finally saw it. What did you like from Bear Bachmeier being able to throw the football as a true freshman on the road at Colorado last week?
I think he made great decisions. By the way, he made a ton of checks with the line. He is really smart. He is one of the smartest quarterbacks BYU's had in a long time. He's obviously book smart. On the broadcast, they said, I didn't know this, apparently took 20 credit hours and got a 4.0 at Stanford.
It's impressive.
Those smarts, which I did not have when I was a student at BYU. School got in the way of my education. I came to be a broadcaster. I failed a couple of classes. They were hard, man. The Bears awesome that way. But on the field, I think he knows when to go to the intermediate and the deep. And I think Aaron Roderick is putting him in great positions to succeed. They're softening up the defense laterally with Cody Hagan's tornado reverse working for a second time. High percentage throws to the tight end and the running back. And then when the time is right, push it down the field. He goes 70% completion percentage, 179, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Chase Roberts, by the way, his 2 touchdowns, spectacular. In the red zone where you need to be money. Chase Roberts runs what he told me was a star route, so it's like a slant and then a whip or arrow to the right. Cooked his receiver. Bear looks to the left first, rolls to his right, gets Chase on time, touchdown. That's simple execution when you can win a one-on-one matchup. And then the other touchdown for Chase was where 2 defenders, they did a legal pick play, and the 2 guys run into each other, and Chase is wide open. So it's just Aaron Roderick's scheme can create openings for Bear that he's taking advantage of in a great way.
How nice is it to see the tight end position come alive with Carson Ryan? That might be a little bit of a soft spot here, you don't want to rub in too much on this station. But how nice is it to see BYU finally throw into a tight end? And in the past, do you think it was a quarterback thing? Was it a scheme thing? Or was it just a personnel issue at the tight end position?
Aaron Roderick made it abundantly clear this year that the issue is that they didn't have an every down tight end. So it's just, he doesn't want it to be obvious when that person comes in. And right now when Kean Neat comes in, it probably is a run. It's sometimes a pass, but he's coming in to block. He's not coming in to catch the ball. So when Carson Ryan's in, you don't know. You don't know. He's an every down guy, and now he's getting an opportunity as kind of the main guy. Utah uses a lot of tight ends. They've produced great tight ends the last couple of years, no doubt. And Sean's been very vocal, to me. He said, hey, I thought that was a big loss for Utah. Carson's getting an opportunity he wasn't getting in Utah. And that's okay. That happens. There's different systems, different personnel, and different opportunities. When Alex Barcelo was at Arizona on the basketball team, first 2 years, dude averages 2 points a game, comes to BYU. He's the number 1 3-point shooter in the land. He leads BYU to 3 NCAA tournaments in a row, part of those groups. Sometimes a fit somewhere else works out just a little differently. I don't credit anything relative to, other than the opportunity he's getting right now is just a little bit bigger because He's an every down guy, and he's been great. And he looks like Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters, and I told him as much in fall camp. And he said, "Who is Dave Grohl?" So I then showed him a picture, informed him, and he now understands one of the rock gods, right? Dave Grohl, Nirvana, Foo Fighters. He's amazing, and he's playing like Dave Grohl plays the guitar. He's shredding.
And now he's embraced the role for BYU. That's awesome. All right, Jarom, biggest worry going forward for this BYU football team in your eyes?
Probably staying healthy. You know, right now there's two manageable games that hopefully BYU wins, West Virginia and Arizona, be 6-0. And listen, I've said BYU could be 6-0, and I still won't know how good they are. Because until they play Utah, at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, and TCU in a row, there's one bye week in there, then we'll know how good BYU is. Now, if they emerge from those 4 through 10 games at 8-2, then absolutely, right, they're in the hunt for an opportunity to go to Arlington in the Big 12 championship. But until then, I believe BYU is good. I believe that defense is very good. I think special teams is awesome. The offense is coming along. I think it's good. Can it be very good? Could it be great? I mean, Bear Bachmeier is growing before our eyes every week, which is awesome. He's going to have resistance. He's going to give it away at some point. He hasn't yet, which, by the way, 10 touchdowns through 4 games combined, pass rush, and no giveaways. There's this guy on Twitter called BYU Statsman. He says that no BYU quarterback has ever done that. 10 or more touchdowns, no giveaway through the first 4 games. So what he's doing is something that nobody has ever done at BYU, which is unbelievable. But it's going to ramp up with, West Virginia, probably a step back from Colorado just a touch, and you're at home. At Arizona, it's a tough game, but then you get into that 4-game gauntlet, guys, and if they can somehow get through that 2-2 and 8-2 overall, man, now that they've proven themselves against some of the top contenders in the league.
Yeah, that would be impressive. Speaking of the rest of the league, tell us what you think about the rest of the Big 12. Top teams, maybe some top-tier teams. Where would you place BYU in there? Where would you place Utah amongst the rest of the Big 12?
Yeah, I think we all think it's Texas Tech versus the field, right? I like what Arizona State has done. That comeback against TCU is notable. I mean, being down 17-0 on a Friday night at home after a monsoon is crazy. So there's just a bunch of teams tied for second for me. I got ASU in there. I got BYU. I've still got Utah in there. I know the performance against Texas Tech wasn't what they wanted, but Baylor to me is like sneaky. I'm not sure if I put them in that kind of second group or if they're in that third group. But Sawyer Robertson scares the crap out of me because he can throw for 400 on any given day. Kansas losing to Cincy at home kind of put that in that third group probably. Kansas State emerged from the 4th tier probably to the 3rd tier. They still have a decent team, but they've looked weird. Only 1-1 in the league, guys, because one of their perceived Big 12 non-conference games wasn't a conference game because it was scheduled before. TCU still is dangerous to me. So, yeah, there's a handful of teams in the second group. BYU's in there, and I think if you're BYU this season, obviously they want to get to the Big 12 championship game. If they did with the true freshman quarterback, it would be incredible. And so far they're pacing towards that, but there's some growth that still needs to happen if they're going to kind of emerge over. And think about it. There's 16 teams in the league. It's hard to be one of those final 2 and win a tiebreaker. I believe the champ will have a loss in the regular season. Of the regular season, I'm saying, like the first place team. The 8-1 probably gets you to Arlington. 7-2, you're probably in some big tiebreaker like last year with the 14.
All right, Jarom, before we get you out of here, we have Guardians Tigers pulled up on the TV in the studio. I know you're a big M's fan. Who would you rather the Mariners face in the division series, the Guardians or the Tigers?
Well, I mean, Tigers had an epic collapse in September. They were up like 15 games or something. Guardians are hot, but Daniel Schneemann, former BYU guy, is on the Guards, so I probably want the Guards because I'm trying to find the cheapest flight I can to get up there Saturday for Game 1, which would be fun. I'm not sure I'm going to make it, but that would be cool. The Seahawks play the next day against the Bucs. That would be fun. So, I mean, from a competitive standpoint, give me the Tigers, but I kind of want the Daniel Schneemann Guardians storyline too.
The other thing I have to ask you about, Thursday night, there's a big NFL matchup, the Rams and the 49ers, and PFF put out that their 2 highest-graded players in the National Football League are Fred Warner and Puka Nacua. What's it like to have BYU's talent showcased at the biggest level on a Thursday night in the NFL?
Look, as a Seahawks guy, first off, I want it to end in a tie. But what you're bringing up is a great point. We were talking about it on BYU Sports Nation today too. Is Fred Warner is a Hall of Famer before our eyes. He will be in the Hall of Fame. He'll be the first defensive player from BYU ever in the Hall of Fame. He is the defensive GOAT from BYU. It's awesome. I remember him as a wide-eyed freshman coming in and doing his first interview with us. Like, his growth has been awesome. He's such a good dude. Puka Nakua's sustained excellence over 3 years now, and he's actually raised it up a notch to where NFL Live yesterday is saying, Mina Kimes saying he's the best offensive player in the league. Dan Orlovsky's saying, hey, he should be in the MVP conversation. He leads the league in receptions, yards, targets, explosive receptions, all this stuff. Incredible, obviously, for a fifth-round pick. Orem High kid, he's worked super hard. His story's incredible with his family, super emotional, losing his dad when he was younger, and he had a dream that they would become, great players, and here they are, like he's the best of them. It's been really inspiring and awesome, and I'm super happy for him. He's worked super hard, and he's one of the best receivers and football players in the NFL. Not bad for, a kid out of Orem who's worked crazy hard, and we're all super proud of him. Can't wait for it. I think that should be a fun one Thursday night.
I don't have it right in front of me, but when I was looking at the statistics after this last week, it was like Puka Nacua had 50 targets so far. He's caught 42 of them. The next closest wide receiver was like 10 away. It's insane what he's been able to do through the first couple of weeks.
He's awesome. He's great.
All right, Jerem. Hey, we appreciate you jumping on with us here this afternoon, and have a great weekend, my friend. Hopefully you get up to Seattle and see that game.
I know. I'm trying. I'm searching the flights as we speak. Brice and Jordan, thanks for the time. Appreciate you guys.
No problem. That is Jerem Jordan, BYU TV. Always joining Sean on the Sean O'Connell Show. Of course, joins us here today. Brought to you by Murdoch Ford of Santaquin and Jordan Bianucci. He mentioned his tiers of Big 12 football. And I want to take a second here to talk a little bit about it. Texas Tech, I think a lot of people say that they're the top team maybe in the Big 12.
I have them at 1, yeah.
I think Iowa State needs to be in that conversation. I think a lot of people, I don't know, look, Texas Tech, Iowa State, 1A, 1B maybe. I think those are the two teams everybody's chasing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Those are the top two. I mean, Arizona State is right around there, but no, those are the top two. And
then I would probably put Arizona State. I'd probably put, there's some teams out there that I'm really just kind of bunched up with. I've got, you got BYU, you've got Utah, you've got TCU. And I still think with TCU and Utah, even with the loss in conference play, have a chance to be right there as title contenders.
They do, but it's like Jerem said, and we've been talking about this, we won't know how good BYU is.
And you're going to have to get a coin flip to go your way if you have two losses in conference play this year.
That's a whole segment on its own. The various tiebreakers, which will go
down the list.
Exactly. I mean, Iowa State's best win, would you say, is it Iowa or is it – because Kansas State's terrible.
I know Kansas State's bad, but it's still a week 0, and it didn't look pretty because it's the same thing you see with NFL teams. You get a team playing on week 0 in college football, nobody's going to look good. And that's my excuse for Iowa State for not looking as good as we think they were preseason versus a bad Kansas State team.
Yeah, the reason I go
it's
Texas,
sloppy football.
It is, but I go Texas Tech 1 because they beat Utah on the road.
Sure, that's probably the best win so far in Big 12 play.
And that's why I would lean Texas Tech.
Arizona State got a good win against a good Baylor team. I think Baylor's going to be better than people think.
I think so.
Maybe not championship title contender, but they'll knock off some good teams.
Listen, who knows? Once BYU, they should be 6-0 when they run that gauntlet of Utah, Iowa State, TCU, and Texas Tech.
Yeah.
We may be putting BYU up there if they're able to. If BYU wins 2 out of those 4, they're up there.
I'm on wait and see mode.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm on wait and see mode. Same what Jerem said is that we don't know and we won't know until they actually play a good team, which is Utah.
And if Utah beats Arizona State and then BYU on the road, I have Utah in that top tier.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. The one team that I'm questioning the most, what's going on with the Cincinnati team that just went into Kansas and beat a good Kansas team on the road?
How good is Kansas?
Kansas is good year in and year out. Last year had a down year. I have a theory for that. It's because they had a offensive coordinator that they let go.
Okay.
You could put 2 and 2 together. He's now with Wisconsin. His name might or might not be Jeff Grimes. There's reasons, and Kansas still turned it on at the end of the year last year, and beat some really good teams. beat BYU at BYU, beat Colorado on the road, won some good games. That Kansas team still has talent, and you can watch out for Kansas. But how good is Cincinnati? Is Cincinnati the team that we saw in Arizona State last year that surprised everybody out of nowhere? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the Big 12. Is Cincinnati that team? That's what I want to know.
I hope so. I hope all these teams are a little better than we think they are because I want some competitive football games, man. I'm tired of watching West Virginia play football, I'll be honest with you.
And Oklahoma State?
Oh,
Although they
God.
did give Baylor a run this weekend for a little bit of the game, and then they pulled away. Which was funny because, you fire a head coach, you think the guys that showed up for that head coach are just going to give up. No, they fought.
No.
Kudos to them.
I think they play, well, maybe. I think they play, you fire it. I don't know, maybe this is a baseball or a basketball thing. When you fire a manager or a head coach, usually that lights a fire under you a little bit because you're like,
Makes
we're
you
the
a little mad.
Well, you feel bad because the players are going, we're the ones on the field. We're losing
but
games.
Doesn't that do the opposite, though? It's like, oh, we fired the head coach, and now these guys are playing better. Oh, must have been the head coach. Get that guy out of here.
Well, I'll tell you the difference between college and pros is those guys, as soon as he was gone, fired, Gundy, they're going, okay, where am I transferring to? That's seriously. I mean, really, that's a big part of it in college sports today.
No doubt. They're already fielding DMs and phone calls.
From not the schools.
Allegedly.
From friends.
From friends inside other programs. All right, 1224 on this Tuesday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show, September the 30th. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci filling in for one Sean O'Connell. That was a Red and Blue segment brought to you by Murdoch Ford of Santaquin. Coming up next, a good conversation with Bowie Lishman, a NYC marathon runner. She will be in studio with us. It's a great story. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2015, running her first marathon. We'll clarify if it's her first New York City marathon or first marathon ever. A great conversation and a great story coming up next, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Sean O'Connell Show right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back into the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm not Sean O'Connell. We're sitting in for Sean, though. You can find us every single weekday, myself, Brice Larson, and Jordan Bianucci over on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. Monday through Friday, we talk sports. We do it all over there. So you could join us in the mornings for your morning commute. Right now, though, we're going to get into a conversation, a good one, Jordan Bianucci, with one Bowie Lishman. Okay, Bowie, we want to introduce you first. Yeah. Is it correct to introduce you as a New York City Marathon runner?
A future New York City Marathon runner.
Future New York City Marathon runner. Okay, here's the interesting thing. You are running for Beyond Type 1, and you'll be running the New York City Marathon here in a little bit. This is your first ever marathon that you're ever going to run, though.
Yes.
So tell us the background. How did we get into this?
Yeah, so for anyone familiar with the running community, New York City is one of the world majors. So you have to time qualify. I have never ran a marathon, so I'm not in it through time qualification. I am in it through charity. So I have a charity spot with Beyond Type Run, who is a subset of Beyond Type 1.
So you were diagnosed back in 2015 with type 1 diabetes. So this is something that directly affects you, and this is something that's very personal to you as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and living with it for over 10 years. My little sister also has it, and also my stepbrother, so this is a very personal cause and something that I'm excited to run for.
And one thing that we were talking about off air before we started this conversation was that you graduated from the University of Utah. So you're a Utah student, and you've spent a lot of time here in Salt Lake City, obviously, originally from California. What was your time like at the University of Utah?
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my time there. It was so much fun going to the football games, and it's definitely been a little bit more challenging running in Salt Lake, which has a much higher elevation after growing up at sea level.
When you're preparing for the New York City Marathon, and, well, first of all, how long have you been preparing? Because this is your first marathon, and how have you gone about planning to run this marathon as well?
Yeah, I kind of started by doing a half marathon in June, and New York City Marathon's on November 2nd, so about like 4 or 5 months beforehand. So I was training for the half marathon to kind of use that as a basis of what I need to work on when I go into the marathon, because that's essentially double. And so I've been in marathon training since right after that half marathon, which was at the end of June. So basically ever since July.
And with your type 1 diabetes diagnosis, how does that make training for the marathon even more of a challenge for you? And what things do you have to go through that normal or other people don't have to deal with?
Absolutely. I've found it to be very challenging at times and really defeating. Because training for a marathon as is very hard. It's grueling on your body, on your mind. But my mind is essentially my pancreas, versus a normal person who does not live with type 1 diabetes. Their pancreas regulates their blood sugar by producing insulin. My pancreas doesn't. So I'm constantly looking at my phone to see what my glucose is at. Because if it goes too low, there's major issues if it goes too high. So it's like a balancing act of keeping it within a particular range, because that does really affect the quality and how hard it is to run.
We're talking with Bowie Lishman, a future New York City Marathon runner, in studio here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Brice Larson alongside Jordan Bianucci. Bowie, walk us through the charity aspect of this. So just by you running in this, what does this do for the team at Beyond Type 1? And then if there's anybody out there listening, how can they support you in your journey in doing this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So Beyond Type 1 is an incredible organization. It's a nonprofit globally. So the funds that I'll be raising, I pledged to raise over $5,000. Those funds are going to go directly to creating educational content and serving underserved communities with people living with type 1 diabetes. So that's how that money is going to be spent. And what was the other question you asked? Sorry.
I think you.
I was going to ask you, how did you haven't run a marathon before, but have you been a runner for a while, and if not, how did you get involved with Beyond Type 1?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved to the University of Utah and moved to Salt Lake, there is a huge outdoor active community here, even more so than my experience growing up in California. And my best friend was the one who actually got me into running. She's run multiple marathons, 50Ks. She grew up running and kind of bullied me into it, and it's turned to something that I've loved. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And as far as Beyond Type 1, somebody that I was close to growing up, she was my inspiration because she also lives with Type 1 diabetes, and she ran this 2 years ago with Beyond Type Run.
So you mentioned you're from the state of California originally. When you were making the decision to go to the University of Utah, did you have any Utah connections? Did you know much about the University of Utah? What went into your decision to attend?
I never know how to answer that question. I feel like when I went to school, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I moved here to ski," and so I kind of just adapted to that, to that answer. Like, part of the reason I loved going to the U is being 30 minutes away from the ski resorts. But to be honest, I toured the school and I just really loved it. I felt like this was a place that I would be happy and succeed, and I just really enjoyed it, the atmosphere.
And you were a business major, so you went to the business college. What
Yes.
was that like? Obviously, you graduate, and now you're into the business realm of helping out here with Beyond Type 1. What more do you want to do in the business world?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. But I definitely want to have some sort of impact and continue to work with this organization, and just keep advocating for Type 1 diabetes.
No doubt. You mentioned that you came here to ski. I grew up here in the state of Utah, Jordan. I've never skied in my life.
Really?
I've never snowboarded. I've never skied. The only time I go up to the mountains, Oktoberfest at Snowbird, and then once it snows, don't go back up there.
I found that I've been skiing like once. A lot of locals, not big skiers.
That's really interesting.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
We just don't take advantage of what, is in our backyard.
Yeah, it's really not a great thing.
Anyway, but we appreciate you joining us here. Have you ever been to New York City before?
I have. I've been twice before.
Okay, so do you know the route of the New York City Marathon, and what are you looking forward to most with this New York City Marathon that's coming up?
I don't know like the exact specifics. I kind of just want to go and show up and kind of see. But I do know that you start on Staten Island, and they call it Runner's Village, and kind of spend some time there. And then you start on a bridge. I can't remember exactly what the bridge is called, but I know you go over multiple bridges, and you end in Central Park, and that's where you cross the finish line.
There we go. I've never been to New York City, so I'm curious to see what this New York City Marathon looks like as well. Do you have a goal in terms of time, in terms of just what you want to accomplish? And then, let's answer that, and then I'll ask you another question.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, just finishing it would be a dream come true. But, I mean, ideally, I'd like to finish it under 5 hours. But I'm just happy to cross the finish line.
What's planned for the celebration afterwards? That's what I want to know. That's the most important thing. When you do this, because you're going to do it, we have full faith that you're going to finish. You might win this thing for all we know. What's the victory look like? What are we doing afterwards? Where's the party at?
To be honest with you, I'm celebrating by eating a ton of Italian food, pasta, pizza,
There we go.
Everything, and also dessert.
Awesome.
So.
When you ran the half marathon, is there a certain point where you kind of not hit a wall, but where you're like, okay, I got to push through this?
Yeah. So I've run 2 half marathons. The first time was 2 years ago, maybe, and I had no plans of really running a marathon at that point. It was something I'd thought about, but I'd never run a distance that far. And after that first one, I was like, oh, I could not do 2 of these. Like, do a full marathon, no chance. But the one that I did more recently, I felt really good. I felt like worse at the beginning and better at the second half of the half marathon. And so that kind of gave me the confidence of like, okay, if I feel good at the end, then I can do a full one. But yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, good luck with the New York City Marathon coming up here in just a little bit. We thank you for stopping by and having a little bit of a chat.
Yeah, thank you so much.
last chance. Remind people where they can go to help out and donate and support if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a link to help fundraise, and that's going to be beyondtyperun.fundraise.org/fundraiser/Bowie-Lishman.
All right, Bowie. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a break right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Coming up around the corner, we'll finish up the second hour of the program, and we'll get into a conversation with Jeff Schwartz at the top of the hour. Up next is your Daily Dump, the top news and headlines around the world of sports and more, brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. That's all next here on the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, it is time for the Daily Dump on the Sean O'Connell Show. Back at it. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. In for one, Sean O'Connell, 12:44 on a Tuesday. We're getting after it here on ESPN 700. The latest
6 hours of radio, baby.
Oh, yeah, we're pushing into hour number 5. Hour number 6 is coming up next for us.
I'm doing pretty well. Did you sleep okay last night?
Yeah, a lot of questions you asked in that last segment there.
Hey, you kept.
You really jumped in at the perfect time.
I'm trying to think of marathon questions.
You had good questions. Very well thought through.
Well, thanks. Jeez.
I appreciate it.
I'm trying.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. Good job.
Thanks, man.
All right, let's jump into the top news around the world of sports here on the Sean O'Connell Show and the Daily Dump brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. News has it, Jordan, that Phase 1 of the Delta Center renovations have been completed. They added a seat riser system, added 1,100 seats in the lower bowl for the Mammoth games, and a new full view capacity for this season of 12,478 seats. They're building towards 17,000 total seats, but this upcoming season will be 12,478 seats. You excited for some Mammoth games?
I am excited. I'm also excited about the seat riser system because what I'm hoping, our biggest concern when the hockey team came was this is going to really hurt the quality of watching NBA basketball because there's no better place in the NBA to watch a game. You're right on top of the floor. There are no bad seats in that arena. So I'm hoping that that's able to remain because, you watch like Lakers games, whatever, any team that shares with a hockey team, the seats behind the basket are really far behind the basket and they're like flat. So I'm hoping this will work out really well.
Well, the bowl was also lengthened by 12 feet at each end, and the event floor was raised 2 feet to create ideal sight lines for events in the Delta Center and accommodated a new ice floor slab. By the way, I say the Delta Center. Everybody else, I don't know what it is. We've had this conversation we even asked Nick Olchek. He didn't want to answer the question.
Like, I'm a company man. Don't get me into this.
But it is the Delta Center for everybody that's out there. So if you're listening to this program and you hear me say the Delta Center, okay, now you know my stance on that. Collective Phase 1 innovations resulted in full unobstructed views for every lower bowl seat, which means I think in the upper bowl you will still have obstructed views this upcoming season.
Yeah, and I think they'll get those taken care of hopefully the next season.
Yes, because this is a multi-year operation.
I think they initially said it's a 3-year renovation, so 3 phases, 1 per off season. But I could be wrong about that. It's multi-year is what they're saying in this press release. So maybe it gets done, it gets finished in Phase 2. I think I might have said on the air. I certainly said it off air that that everything's going to be done this off season. There's a misunderstanding there on my part, so I've got to correct that there. It instead of 17,000 this season for hockey and 19,000 for Utah Jazz, it's up to about 12,400 or 500 almost unobstructed view seats for hockey. It's interesting that the press release doesn't tell you the total seats for hockey. So you have, I know that they don't want to promote that there's still obstructed view seats, but still give us some facts about the capacity here because it's more than 12,500. It's probably, if they're building up to 17, I'm going to guess 14,000 maybe. So you're getting, 1 to 2,000 still obstructed. I'm also curious, any single goal viewing still as part of this? Probably, but people are going to know when they show up to the arena, so you might as well put it in the press release, SEG.
I do think that gives you the opportunity, though, for some cheap tickets to get you in the door.
I would hope
so. If you have obstructed views. Like last year, there were a couple games you could find $10, $15 tickets in certain deals that were happening around. And that means that you can get into a Utah Mammoth hockey game before they get really good and those ticket prices go up.
Well, yeah, before you can see both goals. Those ticket prices.
You know what? I sat in some obstructed views last year, and it was great. The atmosphere alone inside that arena, inside that barn, makes it great. And I'm okay. Look, I'm not like the biggest hockey guy, so this is probably why I'm okay with it. I'm not a hockey purist. I'm okay not seeing one side of the goal. I can see the big screen inside the arena.
One end you just couldn't see the goal.
Yeah.
And you would just watch the big screen when the puck came down on that side of the ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to one one game with the single goal viewing. I think last year they had you had free hot dogs for people sitting on those seats.
Right.
Yeah.
So they
They're
tried
gonna compensate you.
Yeah, they tried to make you feel a little bit better about it. But Brice is right. Like the Jordan or the atmosphere. I got Brice and Jordan going over in my head all the time. I don't know why. But the atmosphere being in the arena was good enough to make you not forget that you can't see the goal right in front of you, but like make you go, it's not that big a deal. Plus, I mean, the big screens are fantastic. The Jumbotron, like you up in that upper bowl, you've got a perfect view of the Jumbotron. So you weren't missing any of the action. Obviously, it's better when you can look down and see it happening on the ice right in front of you, but and they'll get there eventually. But one more year of that, maybe 2 more years of that, I think it not as big a deal as it probably seems like it if you've never been to a game.
Well, that's the thing. It's still a novelty just having an NHL team.
Yeah.
So you can live with that for a couple of years.
I'll give you an update next week of what the Delta Center looks like. All right.
What are you doing next week at the Delta Center?
Tate McRae on Tuesday night. Getting dragged out there. Wife and some friends.
That'll be fun.
Tuesday night, Tate McRae concert. I'll take some pictures and I'll let you guys know. I'll do some Delta Center
recon.
Yeah, go down there, talk to security. So, ice under here?
We got the ice down? What's going on?
You know, they do have the ice down because they released videos. Did you guys see the videos of them putting down the ice and painting it and all that?
I did not see the videos.
It was pretty cool. It's pretty interesting.
All right.
So should we do an Ohio State thing with just to emphasize the in Delta Center? The Delta Center.
Yes. If you're going to do it, at least do that.
Starting the
Delta
counter
Center.
off campaign here.
Delta Center University.
Delta Center. Thank you for being here.
Go Bucks, by the way.
All right, some other news in our daily dump this morning. Headlines around the world of sports. Last night, bad injury for Tyreek Hill. It was a dislocated knee, also tore his ACL, among other ligaments. And look, if you're a Dolphins fan right now, nothing can go right for the Dolphins.
No.
Tyreek Hill goes down. You lose him for the rest of the season. Now you're turned into a team that struggled with him on the field. And Tua Tagovailoa, the whole situation down in Miami.
That was terrible. Does McDaniel survive the year? Is my question. I don't have the answer because you just lost your best player.
How big were the expectations for the Miami Dolphins going into this year?
They make the playoffs.
And if they miss the playoffs, you think that Mike McDaniel's gone?
I don't know because now you lose your best player. What are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like it's not his fault.
Yeah.
The guy has a
I
season-ending
feel like
injury.
Possibly Tua is more likely to be gone than the head coach if they don't make the playoffs this year, because I think almost everyone around the league believes that Mike McDaniel is an incredible offensive mind at the very least. And they may not think he's outstanding head coach, but I think that's pretty universal too. I think that people think he's a really good head coach, one of the best offensive minds in the game, and I think the natural thing is to say, well, Tua's been underachieving, especially without Tyreek Hill, and he's not going to have him the rest of the year. So I would wonder if they move on from him sooner than they move on from McDaniel, but who knows? Maybe both are gone. Like it can be that volatile sometimes in the NFL.
They could choose to clean house. It was a win for the Dolphins last night, though, 27-21 on Monday Night Football. One thing that came out of Monday Night Football, Sauce Gardner, star cornerback for the New York Jets, claimed that the NFL, he feels like more calls are going against him in NFL games because the Jets are so bad. They're not one of the, quote, premier teams. They're not one of the best teams, and therefore he feels as though he's not getting away with as many penalties as other corners and other safeties in the rest of the NFL. True or not true, Jordan Bianucci?
To give it really an informed opinion on this, I would have had to watch a Jets game this year, which I refuse to do. I don't think I buy that. I don't know that I buy that.
Gardner said, quote, "I watch football all the time, and I just feel like I don't know if this is wrong to say." Anytime you say that and start off a sentence, you might just want to stop there. But I think I get called for more stuff just based off of us not winning. I watch these winning programs, and there's some egregious things, and it just doesn't get called. They're letting the players play, end quote from Sauce Gardner. I do have a theory. I said this morning on Brice and Bianucci over on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. My theory is that, yes, the NFL might have lesser referees, the referees that don't grade out as well for the lower, less important games around the National Football League.
For the worst teams, yeah.
You're not putting your number one reffing crew on an 0-3 versus 0-3 matchup between the Dolphins and the Jets. You're putting your number one ref crew on Colts and Rams over the weekend, or you're putting them on the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs, even though the Chiefs haven't been great this year, and neither have the Ravens really. But you're putting them on the premier matchups throughout, and yes, they're probably leaving the lower-ranked referee crews for lesser matchups that don't mean as much.
Yeah, I buy that. I do like that he tried to establish credibility with guys. I watch a lot of football.
I watch a lot of football.
I know I'm a professional football player, but I also watch a lot of football.
Not to mention, I'm kind of a football savant. All right, I watch all of the other football. Maybe not a lot of film during the week, but I watch a lot of football.
And I like how it was almost like a tacit throwing the Jets under the bus. Listen, we've sucked for a long time, and so we get poorer officials in our games.
Is it true or is it not? I don't know. I'm not necessarily buying the idea that they're just like, yeah, no, it's Sauce Gardner. We're throwing a penalty every time.
It's an incomplete pass. The Jets defense. Nah, it was probably pass interference. What are the chances?
The Jets are 0-4 penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not buying that. I'm buying more so maybe they get not as good of officiating crews.
Yeah, I buy
working
that.
their games.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is your daily dump brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Check them out up and down the Wasatch Front. Just look for the truck with the duck. We'll take a break. The third and final hour of the program comes your way next year on the Sean O'Connell Show. The 1 o'clock hour will come up next. We'll talk some Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll give you an update on this game between the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians. It's currently in the bottom of the 7th inning. And then we'll talk about the rest of the Major League Baseball playoffs and more. That's all next here on Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. 1 o'clock right on the dot. We're pushing into the third hour of the program on ESPN 700. Want to remind you can find us over at ESPN700sports.com. All of the interviews, all of the important stuff is posted over there. Make sure you download the ESPN 700 app. It's free in your preferred app store. You can also tell your smart speaker to play ESPN 700. Also enable the ESPN 700 skill on your smart speaker. It'll make your life a little bit easier down the road. I'm Brice Larson. That is Jordan Bianucci. And together we're Brice and Bianucci filling in for one Sean O'Connell here on ESPN 700. And Jordan, we're going to talk some Major League Baseball, some playoffs. They are finally here. Tomorrow's the first day of October. The weather outside is a little bit cooler. And, with October comes scary movies, Halloween, and good times.
I love October. October may be my favorite month. You got playoff.
Is it the best sports month?
I was just going to say, you got playoff baseball. You have the NFL, college football. Basketball starts towards the end. Hockey is in there. And then I enjoy Halloween and horror movies. And right now, Tarek Skubel's dealing for the Tigers.
He is a horror movie for the Guardians at the moment in time.
He is.
One might say.
You know how the Guardians scored their run, by the way?
I don't know.
A 47-foot hopper, like the Baltimore Chop out in front of home plate run came. That's how the Guardians have been winning baseball games, and it's still happening. They're down 2-1, though.
It is 2-1, and currently headed into the 8th inning right now in Cleveland. Okay, we made our predictions this morning on Brice and Bianucci over on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. And some people might be surprised. I did predict the Boston Red Sox, San Diego Padres World Series. I would really enjoy that. The other one I would enjoy is Mariners and Padres. A couple of first-time teams.
Yeah.
And a chance to win a first-time World Series for both of those two.
I want to see the Mariners in there just because they've never even won the pennant. The Padres have been to the World Series.
Sure.
Mariners have never even been there. But, yeah, I have the Phillies and the Mariners. These are guesses. This is not like the NFL.
There's no way to tell.
There's no way.
Major League Baseball playoffs are such a crapshoot. And just I truly believe it. We talk about this all the time. I think that there's such an advantage for teams who are playing right now versus teams that are sitting that it renders the top seed moot. And I think there's some data. There's not enough in the expanded playoff yet, but the early signs here are showing that the wild card teams are actually winning at a higher rate than the teams that get the bye are right now. And I don't know if it is an advantage that these teams get the bye. Now, if you ask the managers, if you ask the players, they'll always say, do we have to avoid a 3-game series right off the bat? Yes, we're going to do that. We'll take it 100 times out of 100. But I don't know if it is an advantage because you see the Atlanta Braves last year. They were simulating playoff games. They were doing all this stuff. And what good did it do them because they didn't win a playoff series?
No, you can't. Exactly. You can't simulate it. You're right. If you ask the players there's a reason they want the bye. Like they just do. They would rather have the bye.
You play less games. You throw less pitches.
Yeah. Play less games. You can set your pitching staff so they're going. I'm trying to find. I did figure this out one day because we've been arguing about this forever, and they've only been doing it for what, 4 or 5 years.
Couple of years.
Yeah, but you're right. Like the wild card teams have fared better. We're going to need a lot more.
They have a slight advantage. I think it was like a 2-series win advantage over the higher ranked teams that had the bye.
By the way, just accidentally, I'm in my photos right now looking for that stuff I did. I just stumbled across our MLB predictions back on March 27th.
Oh, no. Yeah, mine's not good.
Oh, well, mine aren't either.
Mine were something to do with the Atlanta Braves.
You had the Braves beating the Red Sox. Okay, so that's not good on one side.
Consistent with my Red Sox pick.
Yeah, well, I had the Rangers beating the Dodgers. Not great. Not great. So that was...
The Braves disappointed.
Yeah, you were pretty good, man. You had Milwaukee in the playoffs. You also had Kansas City, I think. But you had Baltimore, too. We all had Baltimore.
Yeah. Baltimore was a surprise. Probably the biggest letdown in all of Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the Braves, Baltimore had injuries, too. But the Braves were just decimated.
Yeah.
And, PED suspensions.
Right.
Look, if it's my team, I still want the bye. I do, because it's what you just said. Anything can happen in a three-game series is nothing.
Right.
There's a reason they play 162 games. You need a lot of games to figure out who the best team is. So a 7-game series is still anybody's game, but a 3-game series, it's just like, toss up.
One other aspect about this is that these players go from playing almost every single day, 162, almost every single day, and then all of a sudden they have a full week off.
Yeah.
It's like, look, and I don't know how good of a comparison this is, but to me, you extrapolate that out to a college football season. That's like Dan Lanning saying we had 28 days off between the time we played the Big Ten championship game and the time that we played our college football playoff game at the Rose Bowl against Ohio State.
Yeah, and that's not a huge deal, but Ohio State got to play earlier, right?
You get hot, you get rolling, you're back at it, you knock the rust off, and these teams that win these wild cards come into that series, and they look better. They just look all around better. And it's because they've been playing baseball and the other team hasn't. That's my theory.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, unless it was last year where you had the two best teams in both leagues, Dodgers and the Yankees.
Yeah.
Looked great. Wild card teams are 9-7 in series against quote-unquote division opponents.
See?
So,
two series lead.
Two series lead. So we'll see what happens this year.
But we need more data.
Yeah, we're going to need more data.
It's early.
It'll be interesting when they expand, and if we get a team, how they do the playoff, how that changes the playoff format.
Yeah. Man, baseball in Salt Lake City. Not the easiest of things because we see what the Colorado Rockies are going through right now. We've talked with Dave Fleming over on our program, and he said, I don't know what they would do because they've tried, they've got the humidor going in Colorado, but it's not like it makes a difference, but it's still so hard to build a winning team in Colorado. How does that mean? What does that mean for Utah if they get a baseball team?
Yeah, and everyone has the humidor now. So
is it really an advantage? Should they only allow the humidor in Colorado and Utah going forward?
I don't even. It would be hard. It's hard to build a pitching staff, and it's in that environment at that altitude because you go through arms, and those games are long. And I thought another part of it is you can't tell me that just your position players aren't a little more fatigued when they're standing out there for longer games because the games in Colorado last longer. The innings are longer. There are more base runners, more hits.
Runs scored.
Yes, it's taxing. So that would be absolutely a challenge if we get a team.
That would be the number one challenge, and then also convincing good pitchers to come to Utah would be a challenge.
It's a non-starter. You would have to develop guys in the farm system. You just would.
Yeah. Because,
no one's signing a huge deal, a pitcher to come to Utah or Colorado.
It's just not happening.
No. Why would – I mean, no. You either have to overpay by a ton of money, but guys care about their stats. Like,
I think probably in baseball more than any other sport, they care about their personal statistics because it's such a conversation when we talk about the Hall of Fame more than any other sport.
Yeah.
It's so analytical and such statistical driven decisions that of course they care about their personal stats. And I think that's more so in Major League Baseball than any other sport.
Yeah. Well, just because the casual fan knows baseball stats so much more than any other sport. It's just so tied to the game for whatever reason. Yeah, they care about it. So it is hard. Now, if I'm a hitter, I'm like, hell yeah, why wouldn't I come here and hit 50 dingers? But then again, I think the guys that go to those places, then they're looked at like, you only hit 50 dingers because you were in Colorado. So it's a double-edged sword.
A little asterisk by that. Yeah. All right, another game underway, just barely starting. The Padres and Cubs getting underway on ABC. So we'll keep an eye out on that one the rest of the evening. And then you'll take a look at the Red Sox and Yankees. They're going to get underway at 4 p.m. on ESPN. That's going to be a fun series in the Bronx. Do you think the Red Sox are shaping up to maybe take down the Yankees? And here's another question we talked about this morning. If the Yankees lose to the Red Sox in this wild card series, does that spell the end for their manager, Aaron Boone?
It might. Losing in the wild card round, yeah, that could do it.
To the Red Sox.
Yeah. I think the Yankees beat the Red Sox because they can hit a lot of home runs. But look, the Red Sox,
home.
Yeah. Well, you get a
I don't know what happened to your mic. Sorry, Jordan. That's my bad.
I was about to say, if you get a good start from Garrett Crochet, you may be able to pull one off.
Hey, the mic's working now. What's the record since Game 3 of the 04 ALCS in the postseason? Let me think here. They're 5-9-1 against in their last 9 games since then against the Yankees in the postseason.
Are they really 5-9?
Yeah. They 9-1. So because they won 4 in a row in 04. Then they had a wild card or they had a division series where they won 8-1. They won in 4 games. So only one loss there. Then they had a wild card game the last time they were in the playoffs. So 8-1, if my math's right, in the 9 games since they lost Game 3 of the ALCS in 04 to go down 3-0. So I don't know, I kind of like the Sox chances. They're
well, put it this way: who has more pressure on them? The Yankees. Yankees have way more pressure.
Way more pressure.
Absolutely.
Which is a complete reversal. Speaking of that 03 and 04 ALCS seasons, those classic series, complete reversal from what it was now 20 years ago. But like, it was the Red Sox that always had the pressure on them because they had 86 years of history working against them. Now it feels like the tables have turned because the Red Sox have 4 World Series since then. Obviously, it's a problem if you don't win another World Series in another 86 years, but it's also like, it's okay if we don't win this year. A lot more than it is for Yankees and their fan base and that organization that it's not really okay if they don't win this year.
No. You look at Aaron Judge, who has not played well in the postseason, the World Series, a lot of pressure on Aaron Judge.
And that does something to you as a hitter at the plate.
Oh, I don't know how it wouldn't. Absolutely. I mean, he's had one of the greatest offensive seasons of anybody in the history of the game this year. But if he's 0 for 16 in this series and makes an error in center field, that's all anyone will talk about. And it's not fair, but that's just what will happen.
Do you think that... What about Giancarlo Stanton? Are we going to get a Giancarlo Stanton pinch hit? How's his series going to go? Because all it is for him is stand up there, get walked, go to first base. He's going to get pinch hit. They'll take a step out. Pinch run.
Yeah. He's up there to hit some home runs. He'll hit one 500 feet and then he'll strike out. That's the Yankees. That is what they do. They're not going to play great defense. They're going to make some stupid decisions on the base paths. It's the easiest thing to do. Just hit it out of the park and then touch every base. Really, if the Yankees hit home runs, they'll win that series. If they don't, they'll lose it. That is the Yankees' strength, and they live and die by it.
And you had the Yankees beating the Red Sox.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'll take it. The Yankees.
How dare you?
And also, I talk about the Red Sox starters. You're looking at Max Fried today and then Rodon tomorrow. 2 good lefties. That's tough if you're the Red Sox. But again, like, what if I'm the Red Sox? I'm going, let's win tonight. Just win tonight. Then think about the pressure that's on the Yankees. It gets weird. They're like, we got to win 2 in a row.
The only thing about the wild card series that I always forget is that there's no switching home and road.
No.
It's all in the same place. So
it's 3 days in a row.
It does feel significantly harder for the road team to win. But then, to your point earlier, Brice, I feel like we've seen a lot of the road teams win wild card series, just like we've seen a lot of the the teams in the wild card series go deeper in the playoffs than the teams who had the bye in the wild card round. So maybe that doesn't matter that much, but it does feel like leading into these wild card rounds every year, it does feel like way too daunting of a task for the road team to not have any home games, and it's a very short series.
I think sometimes when you're the home team, you feel more pressure. When you're the road team going in somewhere, I think you feel looser. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
You might feed off that bad energy that they're bringing.
Yeah, and that energy sometimes just adds pressure to the home. You know what I mean? You have 50,000 people wanting it so bad. And as the road team, you're just like, all right, let's shut them up. Let's just play ball.
No, exactly. Yeah. You feed off the energy of wanting them to quiet down.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Skubal, I think, has struck out 4. Dude, he's like single-handedly beating the Guardians right now.
We're into the bottom of the 8th inning here, and Detroit is up 2-1.
Here's the question. Detroit's up 2-1, bottom 8, as you said. They have a righty in the bullpen. Detroit does. He just threw his 102nd pitch. If he's thrown 115 pitches, 110 pitches after 8, you bring him out for the 9th. Scooble.
I bring him out for the 9th, yes.
You're damn right I would too.
Yes,
I would
bring
too.
him out for the 9th. I let him finish this. He's doing really well. 1 out. He's just threw another strike. He's got a batter at 3-1. We'll see. We'll see how it goes here.
Yeah.
And I think that, you bring him out if that's the case. We'll keep you up to date with what happens as we continue on the Sean O'Connell Show. The Reds and the Dodgers, Jordan. Now the Dodgers have some bullpen issues. Shohei Ohtani might move to the bullpen. Your thoughts on the Dodgers?
I like the Dodgers' offense. I like their starting pitching. The offense. I mean, I don't like their offense as much as I have in the past. The bullpen's been a mess. The bullpen has been a mess. So I think the Dodgers beat the Reds, but I think they very well could lose to the Phillies.
You want to talk about teams that have pressure on them?
Yeah.
Go out and spend a lot of money. Go sign all of these players, and you haven't played nearly up to expectation at all this year if you're the Dodgers.
And whether it's fair or not, if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, it feels like a failure.
Yeah.
Just, I mean,
it's like the Mets missing the playoffs entirely.
It is. It's an all-star team. Look at the guys on that team.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's fair, but that absolutely with everybody. Yes, if the Dodgers don't even get to the World Series, that is underachieving.
I'm going to continue my part of this segment with baseball as it was 20 years ago, but that switched. Like the Yankees were that team for the longest time. You don't win the World Series, it's a failure. And look at all the All-Stars on that team. It's that way this year too, but it feels like the Dodgers are now that franchise where it's like they got to win every year or the season was awful because look at how much money they're spending. Look at the players up and down that lineup. Look at who's in their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers are the Yankees now, aren't they, Jordan?
Yeah, except they've only won one
right.
true World Series. They are. The Yankees still feel that every year in New York. It's just not like nationally. That's what's so funny about we talk about like the media here in Utah. College football coaches were like, you guys have no idea like what it would be like to coach at Ohio State. Same thing goes for like the Yankees. Just every day hearing those questions because they do. If you don't win the World Series as the Yankees, it's a failure. But that is really true with the Dodgers. Seriously, the rotation, you have Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and then Kershaw during the regular season, and I'm missing one other stud that they have in that rotation. You should not be, you should have run away with that division. The Padres are good. They're not that good. Like, that should have been over in mid-September.
Yeah, no doubt. Ohtani is the second starter,
well, of course, yeah.
And Clayton Kershaw was the 5th guy.
Like, how are you losing games? And you're like, the bullpen. The bullpen's been bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of injuries that have come their way, too.
Yeah.
They've been killed with injuries this year. By the way, Scooble just came out of the game after getting a hit back to him, threw the guy out at first. Now there's a dude at second. They're bringing him out, I think, 2 outs.
2 outs in the 8th? I don't know.
That's where they're at. 2-1.
I don't know.
Runner in scoring position for the Cleveland Guardians, so we'll keep an eye on that one.
If they blow this lead, I'm going to murder them. Like, just on the radio, I mean.
The Padres and the Cubs underway, bottom of the first. You'll get the Red Sox, Yankees later, the Reds and the Dodgers after that. The Blue Jays, the number 1 seed, the Mariners, the number 2 in the American League side of things. And then the NL, it's the Brewers and the Phillies that get the first-round byes as well. As we mentioned, what we're cheering for here, what we're hoping, I'm hoping it's Mariners and Padres, just so I could see someone win a World Series for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And fan bases that deserve it, in my opinion. That's what I want to see.
I'd put Milwaukee in there, too. Milwaukee would be fun to see. The Blue Jays would be fun to see. They have a great fan base. There are not a lot of matchups that wouldn't be interesting because there are 3 teams that it was the Mariners, the Padres, and the Brewers that have not won a World Series before in the playoffs this year. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's a look at Major League Baseball at this moment in time. As I mentioned, Scooble just came out, and the Tigers trying to close the door on the Guardians on the road in Cleveland. We'll keep you up to date as we push along there. Jordan, Thursday night football comes your way this Thursday. You can hear the Westwood One call here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. You can hear the Rams home call over on our station, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan, the home of the Rams here in the state of Utah. And it's featuring two big-time products, Fred Warner and, of course, Puka Nacua, both BYU guys. It's an important one, though, in the race out west in the National Football League. The Rams and the 49ers, that's going to be a big matchup on Thursday night. We've talked about how bad the Monday night football games have been. Like those two games last night, nobody wanted to watch them. No. The Jets and the Dolphins, the Broncos and the Bengals, and they weren't great games necessarily.
They were terrible games. I mean, Jets-Dolphins was like semi-close at the end.
I have a running theory that now that Amazon Prime Video has gotten, knocked up a couple of steps after they've entered into the I don't know what it's called, the club that is television networks that get to broadcast NFL games. They're now getting a higher pick on the roster of where they get to choose their games, whether they draft them before the season starts or not. That's why you're seeing a lot better Thursday night matchups than you are on Monday night matchups. And I think that has something to do with why we're seeing better games Thursday, Sunday night, instead of Monday night with ESPN.
This is your theory.
This is my theory.
All right.
And I think there's something to it.
Well, we gotta someone could verify this.
Someone's got to be able to verify.
Seriously. It is a good matchup. It's a huge game for both those teams. If you're the Rams and you don't win this game, you're kicking yourself. I think the Niners, it's more understandable if you don't win. At LA, injuries, you have a ton of injuries. The Rams, this is a game they need to win. This is a game they just do. They are playing really well, and because by the time when they play them again, you would think that George Kittle is back for the Niners, and some other guys as well. So, no, this is a game you got to get this one if you're the Rams.
We were talking about the NFL versus Major League Baseball, and one thing that we put out on Twitter this morning over at ESPN The Fan on Twitter, it was a poll. We personally think that the postseason atmospheres, if we're going off of atmospheres alone, postseason atmospheres are best in Major League Baseball. But we put out the poll to ask you the question, what sport, professional sport, do you think has the best postseason atmospheres? And right now, and I think maybe because of the way that this poll was worded on Twitter, the NFL currently leads with 38%. Here's the problem that we've talked about with the NFL is that the Super Bowl necessarily isn't the greatest of atmospheres.
No.
It's a great game. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But the fans of the two teams that are playing are not necessarily the people that make it there. You do have some groups of fans that spend the money and go. The majority, it's a bunch of business suits, a bunch of clients of the NFL, a bunch of rich companies that can buy those tickets and give them to their clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily the atmosphere that we're looking for. I would say the NHL has the next, the best challenge to this. And we haven't experienced it yet here in Utah. There are some phenomenal NHL barns.
Yeah. There's just a different intensity in the playoffs with baseball and hockey for than it is with other sports. And we could go for a while about why that is.
The lack of scoring?
Yeah. It's that if it's a close game in either sport, especially with baseball, every pitch could turn the game on its head. Whereas football, if you're backed at your own 15, you're probably not going to score on that play. You could, but less of a chance. But I mean,
now I will say the only thing that excludes the NFL for me is the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the Super Bowl out of the conversation and you say the NFC and the NFC championship games, and if you put if it's a Baltimore Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers game,
mm-hmm.
a divisional rivalry in the AFC or NFC championship game, then all of a sudden, we're talking about the best atmospheres in all of sports, in my opinion. I still think it's right up there, the NFL. But because the Super Bowl is so corporatized and it's not that atmosphere we're looking for, it excludes it. That's it's the final game of the season.
It's still good, but I still think hockey is really good. So I put those right there in 1, 2, 2A.
And I'll tell you what, when the Mammoth get things going this next season, that place is going to be special.
Where would you rather go to a Super Bowl, a World Series game, a Stanley Cup final game, or an NBA Finals game?
I'd probably go to the Super Bowl. I'd probably go to the Super Bowl.
I might go to the Super Bowl just because then I can say I went to a Super Bowl.
Do I get to go to every single game of the World Series versus one Super Bowl game?
Game 7.
Game 7. That's a good.
I take good. Yeah. So the Super Bowl, doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
it's a great game, but like, I think it's better on TV.
Does Bad Bunny at halftime at the Super Bowl do it for you?
Yeah, I'm there.
All right, we'll take a break here. 1:25 this afternoon on the Sean O'Connell Show. We are going to get into a conversation with Zach Partridge, the fierce fighting COO, here in just a couple of minutes. After that, it'll be crosstalk with the one and only Spence Checketts right here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Appreciate you joining us here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Brice Larson alongside Jordan Bianucci. Two of us are filling in for Sean O'Connell as he is out working with the PFL. So he will be back in no time hosting his own program here on ESPN 700 in just a little bit. Do want to remind you here this segment before we get started that you can win $5,000 cash from Orem Toyota on October 3rd at the BYU versus West Virginia game. Find the Orem Toyota vehicle, buy the ESPN 700 van, and scan the QR code to enter to win. Orem Toyota, you lead the way. Jordan Bianucci, I want to talk about Utah football for a couple minutes before we welcome in Zach Partridge of the Fierce Fighting Championships. And we discussed early on in the program to kick this thing off a little bit about what Kyle Whittingham had to say in the postgame press conference and some of the adjustments that maybe they need to make. I gave you two things that I liked, one thing that I agreed with on Kyle that need to maybe change moving forward. The two things I liked, I do think that maybe a little bit more of an up-tempo, not full-on, no huddle, go fast, go hard, Robert and I type of offense, okay?
Robert and I. Yeah.
Not that type of offense.
Uh-huh.
A little bit more up-tempo where you're getting the guys into a rhythm. It seems like Utah's done better, and part of that might be Texas Tech at the half was playing prevent defense and letting everything underneath them. But it does seem like maybe a little more up-tempo would help Utah's offense.
Well, didn't it seem like they went a little more up-tempo against UCLA?
Yeah, it did kind of seem that way.
And I mean, it's UCLA, so we know they're not a good football team now. But yeah, I mean, I think that's part of a little bit what they did at New Mexico, Jason Beck and Dampier. So, yeah, I can see that. The issue is once you go up tempo, and I know you're not saying, super fast, you go up tempo, you go 3 and out, that defense is right back on the field.
That is true.
You give it. I mean, that's hard to do. You're going to wear out because the defense is still the strength of this team. So you got to put them in advantageous situations. That being said, it's nice to score points. You got to score points to win games.
You're exactly right.
So if they're more comfortable going up tempo, go up tempo.
And that is a large reason why I personally think that Kyle Whittingham said you're not going to see this team go up tempo very often. You're still going to be a very balanced team because he knows he's a defensive-minded guy. And he knows you've got to make sure that you give your defense time to chill out and not get worn out during football games.
And he knows he wants his teams to win in a variety be able to win in a variety of ways, whether that's just running the ball up the gut, classic Utah style, or what Jason Beck's doing, a little more creative offensively this year, scheme-wise. Yeah. So, I mean, I get where Kyle's coming from.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up, my two good things were Devin Dampier's done a great job still extending plays and looking down the field and keeping his eyes down the field during plays, and it's extending football games, and it's helping them out a little bit more. The other thing those are my two good things. Here's my one critique, and Kyle Whittingham brought this up in the post-game press conference. Is tackling still a problem? I think it is. There's still missed tackles. Kyle Whittingham himself said, quote, bad body position too often. They are in bad body position too often. That's hard things to fix as a head coach because this is something that these dudes should have been taught long before they got to the college game. And you could kind of work this out of them, but it becomes a habit. And when you have guys forming bad habits, it's really hard to fix it in a bye week, and it's really hard to fix it in the middle of the season when you were afraid to hit in fall camp and you didn't want to tackle enough in fall camp because you're afraid of injuries, which is a fair concern. How do you go about fixing it? Is this still an issue if Utah's going to beat top-tier teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue if they're going to beat top-tier teams. They looked better against, it's, again, West Virginia, but they looked a lot better. I don't know. I would like to know how Kyle dealt with that in the past, whether it was we're going full pads 2 days how do they do that during the season?
Right.
So I don't. The answer is I don't know.
Yeah,
to be totally honest with you.
Well, it's something that we're going to have to look out for going forward here. You've got to be able to tackle a little bit better. You've got to put yourself in good positions to win those, and that's something that just needs to be better all around going forward here as well. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we are going to welcome in Zach Partridge of the Fierce Fighting Championships. He's the Fierce Fighting Championship COO. Zach, appreciate you joining us here in studio on the Sean O'Connell Show.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
By the way, just to introduce ourselves, I'm Brice. That's Jordan. So it's good to have you on with us here this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about your background with fighting. Were you a fighter yourself? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I'm still an active fighter, actually.
Okay.
So I've had 3 fights this year. I've had two pro MMA fights, and then I made my BKFC debut at the Maverick Center earlier this year. But I got into fighting as kind of a part of a weight loss journey.
Okay.
Started training, took a fight, and now it's turned into 12. But this is a young man's game, so I, for the most part, I just, kind of wanted to look in the business side of things, started getting involved, started doing some podcasting, turned into some commentary, turned into some matchmaking, and then got brought on board a little over 3 years ago to run Fierce Fighting Championship.
So the Fierce Fighting Championships, correct me if I'm wrong here, normally at the Maverick Center, because I've been to a couple of them, correct?
Yeah, so we used to be a lot more active at the Maverick Center.
Sure.
We just had a huge, probably our biggest event that we've ever had at the Maverick Center in August. We're only going back there now once a year. Home base, for the most part, is the old Masonic Temple downtown Salt Lake, right on South Temple. They have an auditorium in there. It fits about 1,000 people. It's very intimate. Honestly, it's if you haven't been before, I think it's the best venue to watch fights.
You're right on top of the action.
It's right, you're right on top. If you've been in there, you're right there. It's intimate. It's cool. So that's a really cool vibe. This weekend we're at the Salt Palace with the FightCon Expo, but we have fights pretty much every month.
Tell us a little bit about the FightCon Expo and what people can expect when this all takes off this weekend.
Yeah, so FightCon, the guy that Rob Scott that runs Legends Boxing, he's putting on this 2-day event expo where they have everything. They have the armored combat. I'm guessing they have the sumo wrestling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, Muay Thai stuff. And then they have, so we're the main event Friday night. And then Saturday night they have an all-amateur boxing show as their main event Saturday night at the 2-day event.
So if you're just somebody out there, say that I'm somebody that has never fought or never really been interested in fighting, but I'm curious to go and check FightCon out.
Yeah.
What's there for me in terms of, am I watching people fight? Am I learning how to fight? Can I get into fighting? What is it normally for?
All the above. So that's what FightCon is for. It's to bring everybody together. I truly believe that combat sports, starting as, boxing's been around forever and been really popular, MMA as of late. I am a big believer in that fighting is primal and it's in our DNA, and we can all relate to it on some level. Even people all the time, I hear people all the time say, it's not really my thing. Well, have you ever been to a live event? If you've never been to a live event, you have to check one out. It's completely different than watching it on TV. I have a lot of close family, friends that you wouldn't think, or they didn't think they would be interested, and I invite them to come sit with me cage side or get them some seats close to the cage. It changes the whole experience. And so while, yes, you can see competition, there's going to be jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all that stuff going on during the day. Both of the main events, Friday and Saturday night, MMA show, boxing show. If you haven't experienced something like that before, I would highly encourage you to come check it out, because you might just find your next favorite hobby thing to clue into.
What makes it so different live than on TV?
Just the human element. I mean, have you been to an event
No,
before?
I've never been.
Okay, so here's what I would say. Do you watch the UFC
A little
or
bit.
watch PFL or whatever? When you watch those events and you see those moments when somebody gets knocked out, obviously that captures your attention, right? But what you don't see or what you don't hear that you can only get in person is when somebody gets hit and that sound of leather cracking on them, or the echo in the arena, the microphones don't pick those up in TV the way that they do in the arena. Or, you try to think, when it picks up on that really loud, like smack on like a leg kick or a body kick or something intense, those will pick up. But the thud effect, it was almost like watching the UFC during COVID when they were doing the Apex shows with no fans. and you could hear more. I go back to the Justin Gaethje Tony Ferguson fight was a ton of fun, but it's because you could hear it, and it adds a different level of human element to it that you don't really pick up when you have all the crowd noise and everything else with it. In person, you get that and you feel it and you see it.
And you can appreciate what those guys are doing when they get in.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you hear people say crazy things sometimes like, oh, I don't know, that guy's like a real fighter. Man, anybody that steps in there is a real fighter, and you can appreciate the work that they did leading into the fight, but just to get in there and do it, it's something to be respected. And on a human level, I think everybody can appreciate.
Absolutely. So what's the biggest difference when we talk about the Fierce Fighting Championships versus the UFC versus the PFL, and how, for people that might not understand, what is that difference?
So, I mean, really, if you look at it from a more sports standpoint, right? It's football season. We're all in the, BYU Utah is in the Big 12. We want to be what BYU and Utah is to the NFL. Salt Lake City is not a huge market. I know we're not putting a ton of talent into the NFL from there. Fierce Fighting Championship, similarly, not a huge MMA market, but there is a lot of good talent here. Sneaky good talent that probably deserves to be there. And so what Fierce is trying to be, we're the vehicle. That's what I've said forever is, when this was more like Pac-12 territory is, rather than just being, Utah putting a few players every year into the NFL, we want to be USC, or we want to be Oregon, that we're putting a bunch of guys into that next level, right? So we're one of those feeder shows that the UFC is kind of looking at, or we're looking at to put guys on. We've had 3 of our fighters go to the PFL within the last couple of years, and we've had a couple of guys that have come through Fierce that are now in the UFC as well.
So are a lot of the guys that are fighting in Fierce Fighting Championships from the state of Utah, the majority of them, or what's the split like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, so we have, so this weekend, this Friday night, we have a 13-fight card, so 26 fighters, and probably 20 of them are from Utah. We have a couple from Montana, Idaho, Vegas, California. We've had them from all over the country, really all over the world, come to Fierce Fighting Championship. But, yeah, I mean, our highlight is the Utah MMA scene, and to give that platform to those guys.
How does the Utah MMA scene compare to other areas?
Again, I think so. It's very unique. It's a great question. It's very unique. But again, I think people sleep on Utah a little bit because it's little old Utah, just like they do in all the other sports. But it's very good, and we have guys. So, for example, our main event Friday night, his name's Mike Jones. He was our former 185-pound pro champ. He has fought guys that are like Sean Brady, who's a top 5 welterweight in the world in the UFC right now. He fought him on a week's notice back, probably had been 8-10 years ago now. But we have guys that are top-tier talent here that can compete with guys that are on that level all over. Just until we've gotten Fierce kind of up the last 3 years, the focus has been on a lot of that growth. There wasn't really a platform for a long time in here in Utah for those guys, so we're trying to create that space for them. Where a lot of the more established markets, they have longer-running established shows, which cultivates a path to get to the UFC, right? You have to have shows like ours for the sport to grow and for those athletes to be able to get to those next levels. Like Florida has shows, the Northeast has shows, the Pacific Northwest has shows, California, Vegas, obviously Texas, a lot of those big markets, they all have their own shows. So Utah needs a show though, because the talent's there. They need the platform.
I feel like there's a lot of crossover between football players and fighters. How many former BYU or Utah football players do you guys have fighting right now? Andrew Mickelson comes to mind. I don't know if he's still fighting. But
yeah, he's had a pretty significant injury that TBD a little bit, but Ben Moa's last MMA fight, everybody knows Ben, loves Ben. I trade with Ben. His last MMA fight was at the Maverick Center. Justin Taplin Ross, that was a U of U standout. I traded with him for a while when he was fighting. Chris Falau was a linebacker at BYU, and he just recently competed for our amateur heavyweight title. I mean, I have a football background. I mean, I think that's what gave me the confidence to get into do that.
Right.
I played high school football, and I would say most come from some sort of football or wrestling background or pedigree. But yeah, we get a lot of college football players, and honestly, it's because they do really well. They're used to the physicality, they're used to the hard work, and they're super athletic.
Yeah, just complete athletes all around. Where can people purchase tickets if they want to show up to FightCon as well as the fight that's happening?
Yeah, so FightCon is its own thing, right? And then Fierce Fighting Championship is our own event. If you go to fiercefightingchampionship.com, I would always recommend somebody like Mike Jones, who's our main event. He's been doing it for a long time. He's actually, you want to talk about how cool he is. Been fighting, he used to fight at 170. He's been fighting at 185. He went through 5 different opponent changes, and he took a heavyweight fight about 2 days before tickets went on sale to just say, let's just lock something in. He's fighting a guy that's going to be probably 265 plus, and
wow.
And he's usually fighting at 185, and he's like, I just got off the phone with him on my way here to the studio, and he's like, he's probably going to weigh in at like 212, 215 pounds, so I mean, you want to talk about how, I don't know what the word is, but gutsy, that type of a guy is. Those are the type of guys that'll be fighting. But go click on like Mike Jones' picture. That way fighters get some credit for their ticket sales.
There we go.
The people that come, if you pick a fighter, they make money off of that. That's one of the ways fighters can make money. That's the only way amateurs make money. And the pros, it kind of goes on top of their purse of what they do. So go click on Mike or anybody else's picture, and you can get tickets at fiercefightingchampionship.com under the event page. FightCon has its own website, fightcon.com. It's a great expo. If you buy a VIP table ticket to the Fierce Fighting Championship, that gets you into the expo as well. If you buy a GA ticket, then you can buy your own FightCon expo ticket as well. I think they're like $20 for the 2-day experience.
All right, sounds great. Hey, Zach, we appreciate you jumping in here with us for a little bit, and good luck this weekend with everything that's going on.
Thanks. Hope to see you there. If you guys haven't been before, come on out. It'll be good.
Absolutely. I might try and make it out there.
I know a guy that has some tickets if you want to check it out.
All right. That makes it easier for us. I won't lie. All right, just want to remind you can win $5,000 cash from Orem Toyota coming up this weekend. Just find the Orem Toyota vehicle down at the BYU West Virginia game. Buy the ESPN 700 van and scan the QR code to enter to win. Orem Toyota, you lead the way. We'll take a break. We'll finish it up. Do a little crosstalk with one Spence Checketts. That's all coming up next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, getting ready to wrap up a Tuesday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Brice Larson. Jordan Bianucci along with me. Going to talk with the one and only Spence Checketts coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Jordan Bianucci, it's been a great show so far, though. MLB playoffs happening right now. A lot to talk about. October starts tomorrow. We're in the middle of football season. Things are great.
Yeah, it's the best. This is my favorite sports month of the year. There's so much. These are the days we dream of in the middle of July.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we're right in the middle of it, and it feels like the year has gone by insanely fast. We're into Q4 tomorrow.
It's gone very slow for me, I'm going to be honest with you.
No, it's gone by very quickly. All right, we'll welcome in the manual here coming up next right here on these airwaves. It's Spence Checketts. Spence, appreciate you hopping in here with us to finish things off.
What's up, boys? How we doing? Doing all right?
Doing great.
Good. You mentioned it. It's a good time of year.
It is a great time of year. Yesterday we had the Utah Jazz Media Day, everything coming out of the Utah Jazz organization and more, and the Jazz are right around the corner from starting as well. I was listening into your show yesterday afternoon. I thought you said something about Walker Kessler that was really interesting, and a parallel to one Gordon Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
And the contract situation where Walker Kessler says he's disappointed that he hasn't reached an extension with the Utah Jazz. We talked with Gordy Chiesa this morning, and he mentioned not to worry about it. He says it's a way that the Jazz can create more cap space in the near future. You seemed a little worried about it. To give us your take here, what's going on?
Well, first of all, always listen to Gordy. Let's start there over anybody. And he's not wrong. I mean, it's a way to preserve cap space, and the Jazz books are clean. And I don't know that I ever bought into this storyline, but there are a lot of people that believe that when Dennis Lindsey decided to let Gordon Hayward bet on himself, that set the wheels in motion for Gordon to leave as soon as he could. Now, what has to be brought into play here is that no matter what happens with Walker's next contract, the Jazz retain his rights. So if he plays out the end of the year and then goes and does what Gordon did, and what Gordon did was found a max contract offer from Charlotte, let's say Walker plays well, and it's no secret that the Lakers badly need a center. So a team like the Lakers or somebody else offers Walker a max 4-year extension. The Jazz can still match it, and Walker Kessler is still a member of the Utah Jazz. But what that does is set the wheels in motion for 4 years away. And if Walker continues to evolve, he's really good. He's one of the better young centers in the NBA with a big ceiling, in my opinion. So if 4 years from now, Walker plays really well and then enters unrestricted free agency, does he remember that the Jazz refused to extend him and decides to leave? Let me be clear. I have no idea where Walker's head is at. And I honestly don't know if that's what motivated Gordon to leave. I'm more inclined to believe he just wanted to play for his college coach, Brad Stevens in Boston. But it is a calculated risk if you believe the dynamic of making sure that you want to make sure your players' feelings are not hurt. The other side of it is this. There is a very real possibility that this quote-unquote rebuild is starting now with a player like Ace Bailey, who's 19 years old. So even though Walker's 24, he might not be a part of their calculation for what they're going to be moving forward. Because the reality is they're so far away from even being kind of good. They're so far away from being decent. The West is really good. They're going to be, the teams around them, they're going to be really good for a long, long time. That if you're Austin Ainge, who's calling the shots now, there's a chance that he's looking at a calculation that's 4, 5, 6 years down the road. Now, Jazz fans don't want to hear that, but that's the reality of how far away they are from being good. So I'm sure they like Walker. He's probably their second best player. If you believe in the ESPN preseason NBA player rank, the Jazz have 2 players in the top 100. They're the only team in the league that only have 2. One is Lowry and the other is Walker. So as far as proof of concept, there's so many questions about everybody on the roster, probably outside of Markkanen and outside of Kessler. So I was kind of surprised they elected not to extend him. But to Gordy's point, it does allow them to maintain their clean books and a lot of cap space. If a good trade comes their way, they can absorb contracts on their books. And they have 2 things going for them, clean books and draft capital. And that's it. Or if you think Will Hardy's a good coach, like most people do, maybe they have 3 things going for them. But it's going to be another long year for Jazz fans for sure.
Well, do you think that this last NBA Finals that we saw with 2 smaller market teams, the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then the new CBA with the way that you can work it, now is the best time for the Utah Jazz to strike and put together a winning team that can win a championship here in the state of Utah?
Well, sadly, they had one, and they decided to break it down. And I will always look back on the decision. So Ryan takes over as owner. They have, I think, 1.5 seasons with that team under Ryan. Dennis Lindsay decides he doesn't want to work for the new ownership group. Quinn Snyder has one meeting with Ryan and is like, nah, I'm good here. You know, no thanks. It's clear that behind the scenes, Donovan was causing problems and was going to leave when his contract was up. Now, I'm of the mindset, this is a little bit old school, you're under contract, you're going to play for me until you're not. Okay? And so then the final year of Donovan's deal, if we can't figure something out, let's do something different. But I think there's a world. So if you look at what they got for Mitchell, they got Markkanen, they got Obaji, who's played well for the Raptors, and some draft capital. So what does a team, and I'll always wonder this, and it's revisionist historian stuff, and it's hypothetical, it doesn't matter, but what does a team with Rudy Gobert, Lauri Markkanen, Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, Royce O'Neal, like everybody outside, you do the Mitchell deal, you bring in Markkanen, you get some draft capital, maybe Quinn wants to coach that team. What does that team look like for 4 or 5 years? I honestly don't know, and we'll never know. So, yes, the time for a market like Salt Lake City. In the past 5-6 years, Denver's won a championship, Milwaukee's won a championship, Oklahoma City, as you referenced, and they might win another 3 or 4. Yeah. But the punitive nature of the new CBA will allow for talent acquisition for a city like Salt Lake. Because at some point, not everybody can go to L.A. and Miami. At some point, a city like Oklahoma City can acquire talent. At some point, a city like Salt Lake City can acquire talent. The Jazz have mastered 2 things, at least the past iteration. I have questions about this front office. They've drafted well. They've developed well. The third piece is retain. And that's what Oklahoma City's been able to do, and that's what the Jazz have to figure out.
No doubt about it. All right, we appreciate you jumping on with us as we wrap up the Sean O'Connell show here on a Tuesday. What's coming up on your show before you dip out?
Oh, sorry. Let's see. We've got the voice of the Utes himself. Bill Riley's going to hop on. We have Sam Bruckhouse. We'll do some NFL. Andy Larson will roll by for some Jazz Media Day. Dave Fox, too. So we'll talk more about processes and where the Jazz are at. And it's a weird week in college football. Utah State off. BYU's going to smoke West Virginia on Friday. But we're now getting to the point. I always say this, first 3-4 weeks of college football, observation, not conclusion. Now we have to conclude a little bit where we're at. You know, BYU's passed every test. Have they really been tested? Probably not, but they've passed every test that's been thrown at them. Has Utah simply lost to the best team in the Big 12? And are they part of that second tier? Because one conference loss is going to kill you. Is it Texas Tech and everybody else? So we'll kind of do this, not mid-season, but we've got to get to the point where we're just concluding and not, observing now in college football.
All right. That's all coming your way. Coming up next here on The Drive with Spence Checketts. We appreciate you joining us here today on the Sean O'Connell Show. Do want to remind you to check out the Sean O'Connell podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also find it on the on-demand streaming section in the ESPN 700 app. Jordan, any final things you want to throw out there before we sign off?
No, join us tomorrow morning, man. We'll be breaking down some baseball and getting ready for Rams-Niners on Thursday night.
Every weekday morning, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. You can find us over there, 7 to 10 a.m. if you want to join us. All right, that'll do it. We'll throw it over to Spence and The Drive with Spence Checketts coming up next here on ESPN 700 and 92.1.